real quick before we send it off to the big boys, and let's see what our accuracy is here. I think we're still hovering around that 50%. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, so okay, yeah, 50% win rate. That's absolutely fantastic. 50% win rate. Buying SPY at 1 o'clock, Sharif, and selling it at 155 out of 12 trades seems to be a positive system thus far. I was talking to Jose on Friday. He's like, yeah, I was telling him about it. He's like, yeah, we need to collect a lot of data on this. So I'm looking forward to doing that. But as of right now, 50% on 12 trades. Good stuff there. Leave them with some final thoughts there.
We've got all the time in the world. Every day we do the show, we're going to do the Playmaker poll. We've named it so nicely. By the way, I wanted to mention, before we go to the big boys over here, and we're going to send it to them, an individual was doing research for us. They're finding out exactly what post-quantum meant. Shout out to Water Lover. Post-quantum is the development of cryptographic algorithms that are designed to be secure against attacks from quantum computers. Adara and I were talking about that at the Big Desk this morning. We were talking about the likes of PanW, CrowdStrike, and all the other cybersecurity names, and how they're going to have to change their modus operandi, their technology, to account obviously for quantum computing, because the encryption technology right now, I don't think it's up to snuff for quantums. GameStop is above 31. Whether it can break above that 30.05 or not, bang, we're going to take it to end the show there. We get the big top off 31, guys. Keep your eye on GameStop and keep your eye on Rum. They're running right now. We're sending you over to the big boys. Joseph and I back on tomorrow for half.
Ex Machina.
Great job, boys. And look, I can't believe you all didn't vote on everyone's got to vote on the poll. Like, come on. Like, it's one thing, hey, you're not sure which direction. It's a coin flip. You can just go with the trend, or you can, buck the trend. That said, the market is powering to the highs. Let's check it out here across the board. Oh, no, not that chart. I'll just go right over the NASDAQ. I was about to do NVDA, and I was on the NASDAQ, a New York stock. Look. The Qs are about to get to, let me just zoom it out so you can see. We're about to get to Friday's top. Last I checked, that seems like a pretty good thing. So you get overall strength in the Qs. NVIDIA is at the highs of the day. You've got Tesla. NVIDIA's breaking the highs of the day. I'll go black chart with that one as well. NVIDIA's breaking highs of the day. I'm a little bit regretful because I did cover my NVIDIA. Should be able to refresh now and show you. So I got out in front of 139. I was in a couple longs. Why am I biased alongside? Okay, well, I longed NVIDIA in the afternoon, 138 to 139. We still have our Intel trade. Tesla has not broken the top, but I also had Tesla during lunchtime on VWAP, 430 to 434, but you're still seeing the same resistance. But by the way, just for Tesla in particular here, where it dumped at the end of the day on Friday, this 434 area, look at the resistance here today. So it's having a lot of trouble getting through this wall, but it's still relatively strong. I mean, you had some strength overall, a lot of the Mag 7 names. I will point out, Apple is red today and underneath VWAP. So it's been very different from the rest of the cohorts. Pretty overall strong day. The chips have been leading the way. I'm still in Intel. Never really got out of that one. I thought we'd get like a VWAP retracement at some point that just hasn't really materialized. So we're still long that one off the 19.8 level. But yeah, bullish day today. Great start to a holiday shortened week, Obi. Can't complain. Oh, and Rumble's ridiculous.
I was just about to ask you, Neil, where's all the rum gone?
The rum?
I'll tell you where the rum's gone. Went all the way to 14 halves. Oh boy. All right, we talk about some of the top ideas, some of the top ideas on the day, and yeah, continuation. It is having rum to the upside. You can see that it never really got back to its anchored. I have anchored here. The red line is the anchored, and then the blue is the intraday VWAP. Relatively similar, but not the same. On the pullbacks, doesn't even quite get to VWAP, and currently making some fresh highs, 1461, currently trading at $14. So interestingly enough, we did hold that VWAP for a bit of an uptrend. as of right now. So let's continue to see where this can potentially take us. That's what I'm looking for. Didn't really take too many other trades there. Had that Rigetti. When it started to come down into some of these lows here, I did get out. It happened to be one of the low pivots there. I was looking for a push above and past this 1220s there. Did get involved a little early. Pretty much bought the whole first 30-minute range. I liked all the prices in the first 30 minutes, and then when it doesn't really continue, I'm willing to give it back down. But looking for the next trade. Hopefully, you guys have been banking on some of these other names as well. This market is hella strong currently. We were talking about that 21.5 hold on the NASDAQ in the morning with a little bit of a downtrend, but oh boy, that downtrend breaks. When is this? In and around 11:30, and then now we're printing some fresh highs here on the NASDAQ with some of these tickers. I just came back from a walk, guys, and yeah. I was checking my phone while I was out there in the wild in the snow. The snow's actually beautiful today. It's not that windy. It's just coming down pretty nicely.
Get a nice white Christmas, hopefully. We'll see.
I mean, that's the best kind of snow, man. Yeah. Honestly, like when there's no wind and then you have a large fluffy snow just coming straight down, it is absolutely beautiful. So
if it's not packing snow, it's just not as fun. You know, if I can't,
we turn into slush out there.
Well, that's the problem with downtown. Is it gets slushy and then it's just
slippery,
nasty, man. Yeah. All dirty and ugh. But I'll take any kind of a white Christmas that we're able to get. And the market's up today, so how can you be upset? Like I said, the only disappointment right now is having covered some things. I want to quickly, I know we're going to talk about the symbols you guys want to, but obviously Rumble's making moves. I was just taking a shot at it above the high. Then I remembered where our trend, usually draw a trend line from VWAP. So I got in and out there at 25 level, but the trend is back into 13. If you look at where it held, like this channel that got made off of VWAP, where I got out too early as usual, if you look at that, like it's held higher highs, higher lows, it can get back into 13.25 and still be on point with this trend here on Rumble. So I think there's definitely a chance that it could dip further, although at this point it doesn't seem like it even wants to, as it just held on to 14. Like this thing is absolutely ridiculous. Is this thing still going?
Wow.
Yeah, so
would you look at that?
DRCT, I mean, for anybody following, obviously this is the rationality of this move is gone. There's just nothing rational about it. The number of halts on DRCT is now up to 35, and no, I didn't count them. I just have a halt scanner that tells me how many times it halted. So that's 35 halts now. It is now up 800%, while somehow only being at $5. That's because it was a penny stock before. So be careful. This thing doesn't really stay open for more than a few minutes, 10 minutes tops, and then it's going directly into halts. On the daily chart, worth noting, you're only now getting into like resistance on the daily between $5 and $6 if it breaks out this 5. So congratulations to anyone that has this. This flies right in the no trade zone, because unless you're trying to get it in here, reasonable risk to reward, there is no chance I would chase this thing. It's going to halt probably another dozen times this afternoon, and that's at minimum. So just be careful trading it. It's one thing when you're in the money on one of these and holding because you got it early, but you never want to. I mean, sometimes, like every time we say, oh, you never want to be that person caught, then it doubles up from there. Like, yo, you said don't get long. I'm just saying the risk to reward makes no sense to me up here. This could close at $2.50. This could close at $10, and managing risk through halts is incredibly difficult for a day trader. It's pretty much near impossible to do when a stock halts this much.
Yeah, I think again, crazy name. Nothing like I'll usually get involved with, but it seems like we said, holidays. There's sometimes volume gets really focused on things that are going crazy and euphoric. Clearly euphoric price action there, halting up and down, back to back, but it is what it is. Let's see what Sharif has for us with the rundown right now, and what other names you guys might be interested in.
Welcome, everyone, to the Afternoon Rundown, the show where you decide what we talk about every afternoon. Neil's locked in. Obi's in for Sean, ready to look at the tickers as decided by you make sure to join Joe and I during the How to Trade, during the midday, and get into the chat and vote for your favorite tickers every day. But you got to be a subscriber in order to get into the chat, so make sure you like and subscribe. Here's a look at the triple Qs initially. Yeah, I was going to load up NVIDIA, guys, if I can just send it back to you because I don't have my remote.
Yeah, no worries. So we're talking about Tesla first. Just a note, NVIDIA is continuing to push fresh highs there. We were just talking about SMH. As soon as I sat down, I told Neil, I was like, oh boy, look at SMH. There's definitely a bid on these chips here, and it seems like that bid is continuing to go. You can see the market rip to the upside as well. So let's pull in some Tesla here, and we can talk about some Tesla while we let this rumble work out as of right now. So I did kind of dabble. I don't think the position board is updated right there. I did dabble on top of that 14 hold. You can see what I'm looking at right here. Bit of a trend hold since that VWAP hold. So if you're going to accelerate and not get back to VWAP and hold a trend, let's take a look at where that trend is and kind of use that as a bit of a guide. So that's the idea there. But Tesla. Wow. Oh boy, right off of the open, we saw that continuation come in again at the close. Absolutely wild, kind of an imbalance on Friday. We had the S&P rebalance as well, so a little bit of confluence. We talked about this black anchored line that we had coming in off of this aggressive sell at the end of the day on Wednesday. We were talking about that on Thursday and Friday there, and that continuation happened today with a little bit of selling coming in at the same prices there. End of day consolidation highs. Can't really get through there in the pre-market. Off of the open, continuation to the downside, breaking through that pre-market low. Never could get to pre-market highs, but finds a base in and around, where is that? 415.44. So you can see bit of a base happening here. You can see this bid coming in not only last Thursday in and around that 420 area. Sure, we get a little bit of a wash down to 417s, but picks up on the bid once again. And then that end of day flush as well on Friday pops into that 420s, and then we get that gap up coming into the pre-market today off of the open, and look at where we find that bid once again today in and around that 420 area, give or take a few points. And now we're consolidating near day highs going into the last couple of hours. Interesting action here on Tesla, but I think that this anchored is definitely a little interesting here, as we cannot really get above into some of these prices. We're making lower highs relative to this quadrunk that we did have here. So maybe are we poised for a bit of a support breakdown in and around that 420? I don't know, but I think it's well within range with the amount that Tesla's extended over the past few weeks.
It feels like it might be possible. For the lesson of the day today, it had to be around getting the better of the 420 next time. And what you kind of need to look for, just because obviously it ran the bottom on Friday a couple of times while eventually holding on, and it was a pretty hefty pull through, unfortunately, for Tesla. So I didn't get it. I had it on the front end. You can see on the back end of the trade is where you needed to get in when it failed underneath. They're at holds, closed bar underneath 420. Open the next one at the same price and get back through 420. You want to have the long somewhere in here, ideally, with your stop underneath that prior closing bar, and then the run into VWAP. The VWAP trade was good, but I think, as Obi was mentioning, now you've got this resistance, and it's right where it dumped at Friday. So I feel like if it loses trend here, you could be back at VWAP almost right quick. So be careful, because when you look at this, you're still in the midst of a pullback off of that high. And it's been lower highs every single day since making that 480 test, right? So you keep supporting 420, but every day it's a lower high that we're doing it. And if that trend continues, ultimately you end up testing that breakdown, which I think a lot of people are going to be looking short it. Probably needs to break 17, 18 to go short that move, but Tesla could make a breakdown from here. The 50-period moving average is at $320. The prior breakout high is at $365. There is so much.
A lot of room.
There's a lot of room if it decides to pull back when you start thinking about how parabolic it's been since the election.
Rumble next on the list here, guys. Shares trading higher after the company announced it entered into a definitive strategic agreement with Tether for $775 million. It's been a great day. I was trading this on the midday above 14, guys, looking to go 100% up on the day.
Yeah.
Stock is ridiculous.
Well, have you taken a? I see that you have taken some tumbles with the Rumble there on the day today. So,
well, we try to tackle and grapple with this one the best that we could, and I think it's so much easier for stocks like this if you can get in early. Like when you have a monster gap up like this, the second it shows this kind of a rejection of the low, like everyone's got to be thinking, okay, it's doing nothing pre-market volume-wise, super low volume, and slightly putting in lower highs. Then it breaks 10 right off the bat at the open, tries to take out 11, fails that. Now it's right back underneath 10. So it's hard to be, if you got this back through 10, great. The only other opportunity I think early would have been just taking the $11 breakout at about 9.50 or so. Once that happened, it's just like first available dip is the way I like to say it. So when it starts going trend up, first actual pullback, just play the reversal. And then once you get into the middle of the day, we tend to think buy VWAP. So you buy VWAP. Now it's got another trend going here. So I look at it from VWAP. Most times I'll look at it from the middle of the day if it's got a nice little VWAP trend to see if it can hold on to that trend line or pull back into VWAP. Buying the highs is going to be tricky. But clearly this has gone squeezing today. It's a 21% short float. Yeah. It's a blue sky setup from any stretch of the imagination here. So this is like a day one of a squeeze type play. And it's really done nothing but continue the trend all day long. Outside of the 14 pullback into VWAP, like there's no actual short trades that have been any good. Like that's the only one. And you know what, if you took that, great. It to me seems like it wants to get to your $15 level, Obi. I don't know if you just threw that one out there for fun, but yeah, Rumble seems to really want to get it.
Yeah, no, I know. I was just making a bit of a guess. I was just like, if this continues to move the way it is and continues to give us this squeezing action and holds higher highs, then yeah, that 15 could definitely come in, especially if we hold 12 halves like that on a pullback on these pullbacks here. Kind of the first little pullback that we got after the shake and bake was at that 12 halves, pulls into VWAP right here above VWAP, and then continues to push up to 14s right there. So currently we're consolidating above that morning session high. As of right now, you can see when that trend did break, the selling did come in aggressively with some expanding volume, but catches a bid back on in and around that $12 mark. So what is that? 12.25 I have as the low right there, and then continues to kind of hold trend, bit of an acceleration to the upside here. Let's see where Rumble will take us, but the market tailwind is definitely on our side as of right now, with both the ES and the NASDAQ printing some fresh highs there. You can see some of these market leaders near their high of day as well. So the tailwind is definitely there, and it would seem like, Neil, the Santa Claus rally has sustained.
It has.
It has.
And it only sustains because we are nice instead of naughty.
Oh boy. Until proven.
Well, until proven naughty.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, guys, AMD with a great day, 4 3/4 in the green today. Most of these semiconductor names are quite strong. Keep your eye out for ARM, notably weak. Shares of semiconductor names are trading higher after the United States announced it is opening an investigation into China's policies for the semiconductor industry. Chinese Foreign Ministry, or the Ministry of Commerce, responding and saying the investigation will disrupt the chips industry and the supply chain out of China, guys. It mattered very little to some of these semi names today. Most of them green on the day.
That was the one.
So, okay, I know we're going to talk AMD in a quick second. However, I have to pivot to currently mention NVIDIA is at the high and continuing trend higher. So this has gone, it's gone parabolic. Parabolic is not the right word, but it's gone ham a little bit here. And I just want to quickly show, since holding above VWAP, you've got a very nice distinct trend. So from here at 11:30, I bought the first dip that held a support on that trend line and played it for $1, and now it's like, now it wants 140 bucks. So as long as it holds onto this trend line, I'd be looking for the 140 for sure. Elon, I will get to the answer to this question. Rationale for still holding on to Intel, I'll get there in a second after we talk about AMD. I just wanted to make sure, like NVIDIA is on the trend right now. That bottom trend line would be about 139.20. Obviously, it's going to be a moving target. AMD was interesting in that I pivoted away from AMD to trade Intel at the moment. In the moment, Intel was setting up better. Obviously, both of them would have worked out quite nicely. And what it comes down to for AMD, it's up 5% today. I think it's all technical because look at the channel down here on AMD. It basically bounced off the August low and the bottom of a channel on the daily, and now wants to press to the top of the channel. So I think this afternoon, if it had been strong, I'd have been looking for shorts into 128. Instead, it's already pulling back and putting in lower highs. And before we, like I said, before we go to Obi, just very quickly, the rationale for still holding Intel is it hasn't given me a reason to cover. It broke out. I bought the dip. It stayed on trend. It is still on trend. And I just, there's not a reason to get out. I'm offering, I said I'd offer in front of 20s, in front of 30s, and then play it into the 2040 level. It's a couple of percentage points in the money and is still holding the trend. So there hasn't been a reason to cover the last 10% of the trade yet. But I would get out of it if it loses this trend. So yeah, it's just one I'm holding from earlier. It took one dip. It could have been the same thing in AMD, but I got out of AMD and said, you know what, Intel's just, it's a lot cleaner. At least at the time it was a lot cleaner. So I made sure that I traded that one instead, Obi.
Yeah, Neil, I think the trade on AMD was straight up off of the open there. We saw it catch a little bit of a bid on Friday, gave back a decent chunk of the move there. So just looking at that, kind of trickling back up towards prior day's highs in the pre-market right there. It's a 4 a.m. print all the way at 121. So we got a lower high there after some volume comes in after the 7 a.m. kind of volume right there at 121s. Again, prior day high is sitting just shy of that 122. And take a look at this opening drive breakout. Absolutely beautiful. A couple of different ways. I mean, I'm seeing right off the bat holding pre-market highs, breaking out of holding pre-market lows, breaking out of pre-market highs, reclaiming and holding VWAP on a micro time frame as well for the straight push through 22s and then 23, 24. Oh boy, 26.33s is the high by the time it holds on VWAP and then make some higher highs there for a pullback down into VWAP. And you can see that as of right now, we've held VWAP a few times, coming in for the third hold as of right now, going into the last couple of hours of the day here. 125s trading on AMD. The chips, man, the chips are pretty strong. You can see the NASDAQ. The tailwind was maybe not there on your side right off of the open, but it definitely is now on for these chips. Let's see how AMD fares going into the end of the day.
And everybody, this Christmas, Trade the Pool has the ultimate gift for traders. Here's the deal. Buy an 80K, 160K, or 260,000 buying power valuation, and we'll give you a free 20K buying power valuation. Yes, free. But that's not all. Both plans have 7 extra days to hit your target. That's more time, more buying power, and more opportunities to trade. This exclusive offer ends on January 1st. It's the perfect way to kickstart your trading journey into the new year. Scan the QR code or use the link in the description of this video. Shout out to Trade the Pool. Always like a nice holiday gift. And hey, Uber giving everybody a holiday gift, reversing some of its downward trend.
And holding a key level, Neil, specifically. This is the weekly chart today on Uber. There's really no catalyst to speak of today, but up nicely 2 1/3. This is the initial rejection area back in 21 that we got to $60. Obviously, you can see we dropped all the way down to that $20 area, but this is Black Monday in early August when the yen carry trade unwind, and we did dip right above 60, back into 60 now, but it's 3 weeks, guys. We've been holding the 60 level. Does it hold?
I mean, yeah, right now it is. So, I think we always talk about key price levels as let's see some confirmation. Like, does it matter? Like, it's easy to look at a line on a chart or an area on a chart and say to yourself, okay, well, there's a support level. People were buying it before. But there's no automatic, hey, it's going to bounce. That said, you have now seen this have one close. Like, you have one close that was at 60, and then 2 days of trading beneath it to end up recovering. Like, you did it here on the 17th to recover above, and then you did it on Friday to end up closing at 60.60. At this point, I think it's fair to say that it's holding $60. If you were looking at it from a trend basis, the downward trend since losing the 200-period moving average already broke. Like, I could draw it in for you. I like trend lines. I'm Neil. My birthday is this week. I like the Buffalo Bills. I love my Toronto Blue Jays, and I like trend lines on charts. So since you had this trend broken from the loss of the 200-period moving average, first day, that was that first day, testing underneath it held. You've now held pretty much support every single time. What you need to do now is have a close above one of these local highs, like a 62.30 technically is what it looks like. So you want to have a close above this area here, and then you can get a test of 64. This looks great for a continuation trade tomorrow. Like if it were to close up near the top, like maybe a breakout from here into the 64 certainly looks good to me on Uber. If you're looking at it in that long term, I think you'd already be in it if you were playing this as a dip buy on the long term. I didn't buy, I know Sean did, I didn't buy this one on the long term, but for a day trade, it's certainly looking like a good local breakout potentially in the next couple of days. Well, I can't say couple of days because obviously tomorrow's a half day and then it's a holiday after, but in some point in the near future, it's looking good for a little bit of a break and then a play back to the 200-period moving average. The issue then becomes, hey, you have the 200 and the 50 converging. Yeah, good chance there's going to be resistance when it gets to $70. I think you're just looking for like a momentum trade in the short term into that price area more than anything.
Yeah, I think something to note here is that even though we've been pulling back pretty decently, I guess with some increasing volume as well, which could potentially be a little concerning there as we sell off with increased volume. But you can see this dip right here. This is a 3-hour chart, by the way. This dip right here is from August 5th. You can see that a lot of tickers have held in their August 5th lows, but Uber coming back into these levels with a low of 58.95. Again, I think that was printed prior day there on Friday. That prior low was on Friday there, and you can see right here, pretty clean downtrend. We get some strong selling off of earnings as well, and since then we've been making a little bit of a downtrend. Nice little triple top here underneath that 75 mark, in and around 73s. We break this shelf as well. You can see how aggressive the selling becomes when we do that, and then now we're kind of coasting a little sideways here as of right now. But intraday, the trend is definitely very strong on the intraday today. You can see, I don't even need to throw up a line on here, but I'm pretty sure right here you can see that the trend has been pretty clean to the upside here, especially after reclaiming some of this VWAP as well, which makes it even better in my opinion. But yeah, nice little trend on Uber going into the holiday or the shortened week here. So curious to know, some of you guys were mentioning it in the chat earlier today. Did you guys trade it? How did you guys trade it? Did you guys get long, get short? I have a little bit of a level here at 61, but I wasn't necessarily looking at it. There's no alert here, just a line on the chart, but it seems like that line held quite well with a little bit of a double test in the morning session for a sustain of VWAP and a continuation to the upside. 62.21s are the high a day currently, and still taking a pullback well within range to the upside.
Meta with a good day, up 2 1/3, still below that $600 level though. It tried to test it a little bit earlier. A couple of headlines. Looks like Donald Trump still in favor, for at least for the moment, of keeping TikTok active in the United States as that deadline looms. January 19th is the day set there. Separately, the Financial Times reported that Meta is planning to add displays to its Ray-Ban smart glasses as soon as next year. These were a hit, guys, but they didn't have the augmented reality feature. They did have, though, the recording feature. It looks like we're going to get augmented reality going to the new year.
I'll use that for both a reversion and a stop.
We got a
good reason.
We'll get to rum after this because like it's the price action on that one is beautiful. In some ways beautiful. Yeah. Meta. It would be nice to tell you that Meta was breaking out at $600, but no, it's not happening. There was just a pullback and a reversion on a few names here. I just saw NVIDIA pull back from the highs. Tesla can't break its highs. But Meta just did another fail at 600. For like the umpteenth time today, Meta attempts to break 600 all lunchtime. Well, okay, most of lunchtime, because technically it was underneath 600 at the beginning of the noon hour. But for the rest of the time, it's just been attempting to break away from 600 and having no chance whatsoever. So I'd say it's a bit of a disappointment. It is breaking trend underneath 600 right now. I'm still bullish on it. And one of the reasons why, like, I'm biased bullish to Meta, at least for a couple of days while it holds on to this. Like, it dipped into the 50-period moving average, right? So you got the high of the day, the all-time high push, and then a pullback into the 50-period moving average. You get a clean bounce on Friday off the 50-period. Like, it bounces in the morning, it bounces off the 50-period on the daily. When it dumps at the close, it bounces off the 50-period average on the daily. It then holds that off the open and runs right into 600 bucks. So yeah, temporarily, up here, it looks like resistance for a short, but I'm still thinking long bias in a general sense on Meta. This one probably, if not for all the chips running today, and things like Rumble, I feel as if Meta would have been a long for me, but the chips were all so good, you could have just pinballed from one to the other and not had to worry about Meta. But yeah, I maintain being long on it. I think probably the next time I trade this, I'll be looking for the breakaway above 600, and that could, if we close anywhere here, 98 to 600, and tomorrow you'll have like an 03 potential break, that'll have room to 7.8. But I love the fact that this bounced off that 50 period, at least for a couple of days. I want to see how far it can try to continue.
Yeah, Rumble's kind of coming to the downside here. I'm kind of watching it.
Oh, really?
I'm glad I was talking to.
Oh, yeah.
Talking to Neil. That was I used usually where I would like to get short for a reversion on the bid as a reason to sell, because regardless of whether you're long or short, I think that reasons to buy, reasons to sell still stand in terms of price action, but we can talk about that in a bit. Meta, though, a little aggressive to the upside here. What a reversion. Oh, boy. Talk about a V shape on a large cap. Meta is definitely, you don't need to look any further than that. Strong push off of the open, reject just underneath that 600 with, what is that high? 599.10, nice little discount there, and pushes all the way down to 586 is low a day. Grabs this pre-market double bottom here, and then look at the rip to the upside. Absolutely beautiful. So again, a little bit of a downtrend here coming in. On that, you can see it kind of pulls back, holds that, consolidates above, gets to VWAP, holds VWAP, and now we are trekking to the upside here. Now pretty much consolidating in and around that opening range high is Meta, chopping up that 600 mark as of right now. So yeah, one to watch out for sure. Meta to the upside there, 600 test incoming. Oh boy. There goes Rumble, man. Then this is what I'm talking about. We can talk about this now because I was like, well, maybe I should get with the trend, but guess what? You got to consider time of day as well. You can see I'm getting long here on the hold of trend. I'm usually looking for a break. And I'm like, all right, well, let me just try to get with the trend today. And you know what? It doesn't work. That's fine. But it's absolutely beautiful how some of this price action comes in. You can see the accelerated trend. When it does break, it kind of times out almost with a sideways consolidation, and it breaks below that 14. So not only is it that dollar break, I like the consolidation above this high as well. And I was like, if it's not going to hold that, then I don't want it either. Stop out right there. You can see my arrow right there, stopping out of the trade as we break back below this 14 and this consolidation. And oh boy, that consolidation break, I think I stopped out 94s, a bit of a stall, and then slams into 85s instantly. Like I look over and it's like one flush that takes it down another 10 pennies down to 80s, and then we pull back into this prior trend as well. Now I don't know. I'm thinking about getting with this trend as well, because this was when it held a hover above that VWAP. But you know what, if we're finally going to start to break down, I really like it for the reversion, but maybe I should be looking elsewhere. The market is hella strong right now, very, very aggressive to the upside. But guess who's breaking a little bit of trend right now, Neil? And I do definitely want to get involved with that one, and that is our friend SMH. So instead of getting involved with the choppy tickers like NVDA or the other, I think an SMH or an ETF might be a little bit cleaner on the day today. But what do I know? I don't really trade these too often, but I'm more than willing to give it a shot and a try as of right now. So let's see how this SMH stands up to this bit of a trend break that we're getting right now. We've been bidding up since about 11 o'clock, so I'm curious to know how much further are we going to continue being up into the close? We're kind of rejecting 21,780 as of right now. So keeping that in mind, I do want to kind of get involved here, a little bit of a dabble for a potential SMH pullback. If the bid is going to step off a little bit, I'm more than willing to kind of participate in the break of that trend here. Let's see if the markets give us a bit of confluence as well. AMD consolidating sideways. Intel still holding quite well. And again, this is not necessarily a significant break of trend. I'm looking for it to come in still, looking for that confirmation to maybe get a little bit more aggressive here. But let's see if this pullback can give us a little bit of that, of some healthy price action back to the downside here. Maybe we catch a little bit higher.
Certainly could happen, Obi. And I see Chris L in the chat asking, what do I think of Apple struggling today? I think Apple, like it's been doing. The thing about Apple, it's the least volatile of these Mag 7 names. So it's been plugging along in an upward trend. It has the lack of parabolic moves when it makes fresh highs. When it challenges a high, it tends to hang around for a bit and pull back. And when you get a big long trend, it's had a little bit of a pullback. It's trying to break out another top here. The 255 has just been a lot of resistance. So it tried going there on Friday. It's going to be tough to do that on a witching day. And then obviously today, all it was is an attempt to break out 255, which has failed. But if the worst it can do is get to 253 day out, that's not so bad. It just feels like it's a little top heavy, and it's not getting through that fresh high. And oftentimes, the days where NVIDIA has been really strong, Apple tends to not be, and sometimes vice versa. So you could be getting a little bit of that. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. It's in a consolidation off an all-time high, which is fine. I mean, Meta's doing a similar thing at a lower high. Meta did some things like this off of its top. I saw you were mentioning that, you just got into SMH.
Yeah.
What's interesting for me is like AMD's been strong, but like when I see this on AMD, like I'm seeing lower highs into a potential flat bottom on AMD. Like this one, if it loses the shelf, like why not be back at 123.40? Like that looks a little bit juicy to me. And oh yeah, all right. Intel just broke the trend on the 15-minute. So that's me. I was about to put in a trail, but no, I can just punch out of that one. It just broke this support here. So underneath the trend, but broke its support there underneath 2014. So I just punched out at 13. That's an exit for me almost every single time. If it can break out the top, I can always get back into it, but that'll end the trade on that. I don't want to ignore Rumble, by the way. Like I'm not convinced this thing is done. You know, it's still putting on that 15-minute. It's putting in higher lows, and it just pulled right back into the trend from VWAP and put in a bottoming tail candle and is now heading sideways. So the volume can hold on and still look pretty decent here. As long as it holds on a 1350 here, I'm still kind of liking this Rumble for a little bit of a continuation. Maybe it can't get to $15. It might not be that parabolic, but it's still looking okay. Last I could tell. Oh, Tesla just gave it up too. That can't hurt any shorts. Tesla just lost 433 as well. But right now I'm looking at Rumble in front of this 13.5. Usually you have to wait for it to do a good dip all day long, and maybe this is the last one. If it loses 1350, I don't know if I'd try it again for the day, but I'll give it one last shot.
Yeah, so I'm just kind of watching this SMH. We did pull back a little bit there on a few names, but this name not really giving it up too much just yet. But again, going to be a little patient with this one. The trend did kind of just break. I'm looking at the 15-minute, the 30-minute as well. So we're holding some of these trends on the higher time frames for now. But once, if and when they start breaking as well, again, I'm more than willing to kind of hold on to this a little bit longer. There, VWAP on SMH, where might that be? That's at 246.80. So about a couple points below. But again, you throw up your moving averages. We've been holding those very well for about a few hours there. So if we can kind of start to crack those, maybe some selling coming in. Again, very similar kind of push here on the NASDAQ, but got to be careful. Look at these wicks. Sometimes when we did get these aggressive sells, like look here, boom, 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 boom to the upside, and now this is the ES. Flushes down, gives us a solid red, and then picks it right back up for a continuation right there. So that's what I have to kind of be careful with here. Similar with the NASDAQ right here. So we pull back aggressively off of this 720 and some change push, and then pulls in, but continues to kind of bid up and make a fresh high there. So let's see if this pullback is the one. If not, then that's perfectly fine as well. If we're going to continue on a day like today, all the way from 21 halves all the way to 21 eighths, that's about a 300-point run on the NASDAQ there. I definitely don't want to stand in the way of that one there. So got to stay nimble. Again, we talk about it being holiday season, maybe not putting too much risk on unless and until something playbook, something with all the confluence doesn't show up. But let's see if some of these levels can come in here. Okay, it's starting to crack some of the eight moving averages. There's definitely people risking off of the 8 moving average. So maybe hopefully looking for those stops to come in as SMH takes a little bit of a pullback here. But again, gonna stay on my toes here. Oh boy, the spider as well. Okay, I like that. Lots of confluence, Neil.
Yeah, even there, like Rumble just lost 13 and a half.
Rumble just got knocked.
You know what? Like I said, I was going to take a last shot at it at this level, but it just lost 13 and a half. I have to keep zooming out and back in. Like it broke 13 and a half. It hasn't really closed underneath trend line. That was giving it to the half dollar. I wouldn't look for a reversion unless it was underneath the trend. But AMD was about to break that flat. Well, I guess it didn't. So close. 124.40. It came really close. Breaking that flat bottom, and as a matter of fact, it's barely even holding on to VWAP. I still think that can be a breakdown trade. I've got to stop to go short underneath the 40 level, but of course, I'm going to leave it on AMD just in case that breaks. I just got out of Intel. It even broke the 50 period there, and it's right back above. So I trail out of it, and this one's still going higher. Here's what it is. Like you got to take profit somewhere, but even AMD, underneath VWAP, looked like it was breaking down. And all of a sudden, bit of a recovery here off that 50 period. NVIDIA just held on to 139, so it dipped into 39, now going back higher. That might have been an opportunity there. We'll see if AMD can close this candle above VWAP. Maybe I should be trading this as a VWAP long like usual instead of waiting for a flat bottom break. Let's see it close. If it can close this 3-minute candle above VWAP, I'll like it a bit better. Rumble is now formality. It's now underneath that 13.5. I'm not really thinking short here, but tried it now a couple of times with tight stops for longs. Not working like it was earlier, so I want to back away from it. And we'll see what happens. I see Coffee Trader. Just be careful. You're saying anyone having any problems with TOS. You know, I've said this before. Whoops,
What, on our platform?
No. I think if you're ever having issues with whether it's your quote or whether it's your executions with your broker, my personal rule is, generally speaking, hey, figure out what's going on, and if you don't get an update, don't try to trade. I've been in situations before where like you have like a minor hiccup or somebody reports something and you're like, oh, you know what, my last order was fine, or it seems like it's okay, but there's like reports of it being bad or you were having issues before. Sometimes just taking a breath is probably the better thing to do. I know the worst that can happen is you try it, you get into a trade that maybe you can't get out of, or vice. It's not a heck of a lot of fun, so just be careful out there. And then when you have a holiday shortened week or just lighter volume, volatility can be a little bit higher because you have maybe less liquidity at key price levels, so things can start to run further. All right, AMD's now consolidating under VWAP, so this is looking a little bit better for the short trade. If it breaks, it's only a few cents away. If it breaks 124.40, then I want the entry into the short here. So that's the plan of action. Looks like it's trying to go. JR says Palantir is ridiculous. Talk about overvalued. People have said this about growth names from the beginning, the dawn of the markets. Well, it's true. Like everything is overvalued until it's not. Yeah. Yes. considering how much revenue they bring in, there is zero question that it is overvalued. But you could have said that for a very long time about Amazon until they eventually grew into it. So I'm not saying I wouldn't buy it up here. And quite frankly, I had one trade on it today, and it was a short through 80 into 78. And I am just as surprised at anybody that it did a V-shaped recovery from there. But it has. So like, I don't know what I'd do with this up here, because I actually drew this trend from the high to the lower high with the intention of, hey, I should just go long when it holds this trend to play back into 82. And then I just couldn't bring myself to pull the trigger on it because I'm like, I cannot believe this thing is back up at $81. So I probably should be long at 80.5 here, because usually it's an easy mean reversion trade. I just couldn't bring myself to pull that trigger. AMD will not break this low. What's going on with your SMH? Because I can tell you right now,
we picked up a little bit again.
AMD just holds on to that 124.40 again, and now seems to want to close above VWAP. I'm letting AMD figure out which way it wants to go, and either it breaks that local bottom or closes above VWAP. Breaks local bottom, I'm short. Closes above VWAP, I go long with a stop at that level. It's one or the other. Do something, AMD. Pick a lane, my friend. Pick a lane.
Yeah, so I did stop out there. So like I said, I'm more than willing to kind of let it come back if this is not going to be the low there. We did kind of crack that, but if it's going to come back and trade above 249, and like I said, if the market kind of dips down and then picks right back up, more than willing to get out and reassess here. So we did kind of reclaim some of those averages. The trend break doesn't really follow through, and that's perfectly fine. And I'm looking for the next trade. Again, this bid is aggressively strong. I know that getting short like this is definitely part of the front side there, and that 250 is right on the horizon on SMH. So I don't know if we're poised to push into that going into the close there. Again, only about an hour and 15 minutes left, Neil. So got to be patient with this one. But that was the first kind of attempt at a crack of trend. But if we catch another bid off of this, then maybe we do kind of push into the close. But I'll closely be watching this, and the constituents as well. Kind of what are all the chips up to? AMD kind of definitely cracking as of right now. So I do want to keep that in mind and kind of stick around and continue watching this tape for any sort of a continued breakdown there. Not really expecting it to be clean, but if we're going to continue on the futures themselves as well, I do want to still participate with this. I'm willing to give it a couple of tries there before I let it go on SMH.
Yeah, I think you got to be careful. I don't want to overtrade this in pretty much anything. I see some questions about Natine asking about Tesla. Tesla's, it's a bit range bound. I want Tesla to break away from 434. I think with this level up here, either you want to join the sellers or you want the sellers to get beaten and go long. So if you're, like I came in sort of bullish, and then, bullish at 420, it then held to 420, so long off VWAP. I feel like the next trade for me is like, okay, well, if it's just going to hold this range, play a dip to the level I like, which would be down at VWAP and 429, or let it just take out this top. Maybe it's like 434.5 is the top. 435 certainly would be a breakout I'm willing to grab, but it's been selling this since the close on Friday, and that was right here at 434. There is some choppiness and overhead resistance, but for an afternoon trade, if it breaks out this top, you only need it to go a couple of dollars into this 438 level and then another one at 440. So yes, there's overhead resistance. I just don't mind where I think it can go. All right, AMD. AMD just now holding VWAP. It still has yet to close the bar above VWAP, but it looks like it's going to happen here. So I'll probably be in it to the long side in just a couple minutes. Sean Dunn saying SOUN. Soundhound. Stock is impressive. Anyone that... Whoa, that's way too loud. And the funny thing, literally as I hit that, I was like, well, that effect was way too, because I can hear it in my ear as well. Sorry about that. I had no idea that was going to be too loud. What I was trying to get at was, I mean, everyone's like, this stock is insane. It's going to pull back, blah, blah, blah. And then it just does like a pretty reasonable dip. It looked like if you go, rewind a week ago, when this came back underneath 20 bucks, like it felt like this thing was headed right back into 13. If you think about the way that things looked before Friday, like it was a pretty hefty secondary push, and then on Friday, boom. Today, everything looked terrible again, and it held 20 like an absolute champion. Now, it's not that far away from 20, But somebody on Friday was accumulating shares at the top there at 20, and somebody today was accumulating and holding above 20. Yeah, it's down 5 points, but the way it's reacting to these like monster dips, monster dip, accumulation, same price next day, accumulate and break away, accumulate and not really break away. I think you have now all of a sudden some local support that you can play off of. Like if it loses 19.6, I think you can jump out there. You can jump out of it if you want. As I said, I want AMD to do something, Tesla to break 435 if it could. Need something to make a move right quick. If you guys see anything that's making any moves, let us know. I'll tell you this right now, like this is exactly the kind of week that I would rather not trade if it doesn't set up. You know, if you don't see something that is amazing or that is a regular setup that works for you, you definitely don't want to overtrade. Certainly willing to answer questions, but something needs to set up soon. AMD just broke 124.40. I just asked, someone just said, take a look at Rumble. It's still in the same zone. I'm kind of looking for it to get back into VWAP for the next trade because I've already taken a couple of swings off of the prior high when it pulled back. When it pulled back into this level, I took a shot at it. Neither one of those holding and the volume starting to dwindle. So I'll take like if it breaks back above 14, that gives you a rounded bottom. I think that's one way to play it. If it pulls into VWAP, then I like that as well. So VWAP just tried to hold on AMD. Instead, it broke the local bottom. So either this thing was going to close and hold above VWAP, or I was going to take the breakdown, which is exactly what we're getting here on Advanced Micro Devices. You have 123.30 was morning support. So I think that would be an ultimate target. So about $1, I think, would be like the perfect target here. So we'll scalp some to the even dollar and then see how far it can go. AMD starting to come down, so I imagine SMH has got to be starting to work again.
Yeah, so I did get stopped out above that 49, and when I saw it hold a little bit and continue to trade a little sideways, watching the ES and the NQ as well, I got right back in. Like I said, I'm willing to give it a couple of tries there, not expecting it to be perfect, not expecting it to be clean, and allocating the right kind of risk to let myself comfortably try it a couple of times. For me to, I got to give myself at least a chance to see if and when it does come in. I do want to stay involved, but it's holding some of these prior bars on the 15-minute prior bar low is at 48 halves. We're trading 48.60s here. Let me pull up the tape for you guys as well, so you guys can follow along. SMH right there, so 248.70s as of right now. Still holding some moving averages, holding consolidation near highs. You can see the Nasdaq pulling back a little bit here with the now third red candle in a row here on the Nasdaq, with only about 8.5 minutes left to trade. Let's see if we can break down below that 48 halves here on SMH. Let's take a quick look. AMD breaking down as well. NVIDIA with a bit of a pullback. Intel with a bit of a pullback as well. TSM still holding on TSM there, interestingly enough. But let's see. All I'm looking for is VWAP. I don't know. I might have, I should write to Santa and just be like, Santa, can you please give me VWAP when I'm looking for it? What do you think about that?
That's a good thing to ask Santa Claus. Yeah. Now, I don't know if Santa Claus is going to be able to give that one to you.
Mother Market.
Mother Market. You know so the thing about it is,
Fabian's asking, what are the coal futures looking like? I like that.
The coal futures. Oh my goodness. The thing about the market, what's interesting is everyone just wants the stock to go. I like it from point A to point B. You're like, I want to go long at this price and I want it to go to this price, or I want to go short at this price and I want to go to that price. When really, it's like there's probably 100 different ways which it can get from those 2 points. And not all of them are going to be clean. Your job as a trader is to find an execution strategy that covers as many of those probabilities in a positive fashion as possible. I know that sounds a little bit convoluted, but if you have to think of it in that term. Like it's almost never, I'm going to punch long here and it's going to go straight to there. The only time where that works at a reasonable rate are A+ breakouts, right? Like an A+, AAA breakout trade, like it'll bust through something and then it just goes clean. Every now and then,
away.
Yeah, like every now and then you'll get that on like a Tesla or an NVIDIA. Like it's just sometimes, but those are rare and you kind of know them when you see them. But those, every other time, do not expect it to be clean. be willing to have to give it some room, be willing to have to find confirmation, be willing to hold it a little bit against you, and have your stops according to that. So a couple of things here. Guys, watch Tesla. Yeah, it's pulling back into VWAP.
Yeah, the whole market taking a
Everything is taking a bit of a pullback here. Like if you just look at the Qs, like here's the Qs, it's breaking. I don't have to draw a trend line for you to be able to see. It's breaking and looking like it might want to pull back at least another 600, 700 points back into the afternoon. Like that would make a little bit of sense for the Qs. And VWAP here makes some sense here on Tesla, but it already started to pick up a little bit of a bit. I did get one fill there on AMD on the way down after that break, and I'll take some more. If it wants to retest VWAP, I'll take another shot, giving it to that local high. But I've seen a few people now say, what, DJT? Why are we looking at DJT? Okay, I'll oblige that. I was going to go look at Rigetti, because I know that's in play. But why are we looking at DJT? What is DJT doing? Yeah, I don't see it. Yeah, bull flag that could flat bottom break, but volume's not special. There's nothing special about the volume today on DJT. Traded over others. I kind of like the fail at 36 more than anything. I don't remember when I drew that line, but I still think 36. Yeah, 36 is obviously still a pretty good level. Kind of an over/under type level for a DJT. No, Rigetti gets interesting. Remember this one, Obi?
Oh yeah, I remember.
I know. I'm being facetious. It's like it does the move, goes right into that 1250 high, then gives you to 12, and it's just lower highs into a flat bottom. But these can be deceiving. The reason it's deceiving is if it can hold on to $10, and it could still give you a consolidation for a breakout later this week. I mean, as long as it holds on to the prior high, it's still actually green on the day. But yeah, the trend is certainly heading to the downside here on Rigetti, and this probably was a good little VWAP. This is a great VWAP short. I didn't trade this stock today, but look at it. Well, the second it puts in that lower high, VWAP, that's 60 pennies on a $10, $11 stock. It's nothing to sneeze at, and it's trying to break out the lows. I feel like if it consolidates from here to here, like underneath that 1060, like if it can hold in this range, you can maybe jump into a short off the 1080 level, but it's not going to be my cup of tea. I got eyeballs on some of these chip names that might be a little bit stronger as AMD tries to bounce here.
Yeah, some of these chips are attempting to bounce here. Like I said, it might be in confluence with that 21.7 level on the NASDAQ. We didn't quite get there. Excuse me, we didn't quite get there. There's about 3 minutes and 50 seconds left for this 15-minute candle to print. And catching a little bit of a bottom wick here as we take a bit of a pullback. And if you kind of notice on a higher time frame, if you like using power bar high or low to kind of observe, I guess, the charts, we haven't really broken a power bar low on the SMH on the 30-minute chart until now, since since before the open, since about I'd say 8:30. So since 8:30 to about 3 p.m., we've only held a bid overall on the SMH. So it is pretty strong, but this is the first time we kind of start to break down a little bit here. Let's see if the selling will follow through is the question that I'm asking. I'm looking for that price action to kind of confluence with the idea, and we're getting a little bit of that. The chart is starting to work as well, but is there going to be continuation? Are we going to bid right back up? I have no idea. Again, I don't know what the markets are going to do, but I'm just trying to participate in some of these moves. But yeah, Rumble back down to the downside. We kind of talk about some of those trend breaks as well, and look at that. We kind of break the accelerated trend and get a strong flush. You can see this accelerated trend as well. Maybe not as accelerated as this run up here, but this hold that we had, aggressive selling coming in. When that breaks down, and then you kind of catch a bid, and then continue for another acceleration here, and when that breaks down, you start to kind of fall apart. There are 1239s as VWAP. I don't know if we're going to get to VWAP, Neil, because look, we've attempted with aggressive selling and expanding volume in the morning session to get to VWAP, and we got nowhere close the first few times we tried. So let's see if end of day will finally bring that in on Rumble. But definitely, it has been paying off for the longs.
Yeah, don't bet against that thing.
Yeah. And would you check that?
Are you kidding me? Oh, man, dude, I had a pun lined up.
I'm sorry, I didn't even know. You gotta tell me about these things. I saw that and I was like, damn, check that out. Would you look at that? Would you look at it?
I had it all lined up.
I haven't sent you that.
I was literally, I didn't want to interrupt, but I was gonna be like, yo, check this out, Obi.
Yeah.
And then you guys would have all groaned, and then I could have been like, yeah, well, you might think that's not entertaining, but it's certainly entertaining to see a stock up 400%. Look, I'm gonna put this one in the bucket of oddly liquid, yet can't stop halting. It's done 30 million, so it's done 30 million shares. That's a lot of volume. That's good volume for a stock like this. Yet it's in a halt phase that makes it a little bit untradeable up here. So because the volume was good, you could be all over this in the consolidation. I was not looking, like look at the, Obi, like look at this. Look at the break, look at the clean break from 150. That is that is super clean. Like that is Mr. Clean as far as I'm concerned. That is his clean, you gotta be kidding me. Like that's about as clean as like a Josh Allen pass over the middle, just a perfect spiral.
So highly liquid, but holds. Is it a Newtonian fluid?
I like that. That's what I'm talking about right there. I'm down with that. But I'm not chasing this one up here off all these halts. I just feel like if it can do some kind of a, let's not halt every 2 seconds and then do a consolidation, something resembling this, you might get an afternoon trade, but it's already power hour. And as I was saying to everyone in the chat, you got a lot of, oh no, did I get it all? Yeah, I did. Yeah, I've now shrieked myself twice today. And I'm only saying that because a lot of people have been under the weather today. And yeah, I just accidentally bid out of all of AMD, which will look genius if it bounces off 124 even and then comes back up to VWAP to get me back in. So I'll just pretend that, no, I'm not gonna pretend that, I'll just maybe say it, and then maybe I get fortunate and then it bounces back into VWAP and gets me another fill. But anyways, we took the breakdown. I'm not gonna chase it down here. The volume's already really dwindling on the market, so either I get the prices that I want, you just take the win and move on to the next one, but I probably meant to hold on to a little bit more there. Yeah, DRCT is also halted, or okay, check that, it just reopened and was about to halt. This thing is ridiculous. This one's distinctly different because Czech at least has had periods with which you could trade it. They get no point today. This is a 3-minute chart. Maybe I should throw up a 1-minute chart.
Boom.
Okay, I don't know if it even.
Oh.
So this is a 1-minute chart. This makes the point a little bit better because in a 3-minute you're like, yeah, but you don't know. On a 1-minute chart, how many times does it have more than 2 bars? On the entire day. Once, twice, 3, 4. So from the first halt, only 4 times all day does it have more than 2 bars on a 2-minute before halting again. That's not trade. And the reason why that's not tradable, you cannot, okay, I shouldn't say you cannot, because maybe you've got some sort of strategy that works for you. And I've seen traders that have good halt strategies. Even one that was on this floor. But for most trading strategies that we talk about, and we utilize, there is no way you can structure one that doesn't involve you holding through halts. And if that's the case, there's nothing saying that it only has to gap these amounts. Well, what about this gap that went from $4.80 to $4? When it halts down, it could open up at $2.60. Just because it hasn't done it doesn't mean it couldn't do it. So you got to be really careful with these. That's why I will take an opportunity on a check when it does. When this is halts a couple of times, then gives you like consolidations here. You can start trading into this because if you go long off VWAP, you can reasonably stop out here without worrying about a halt. You can take a breakout trade here and stop out there without worrying about a halt. There are actual trades that you can make when it comes to those. So I'm out of AMD, although hopefully it's going to pop back into VWAP and get me back into this short in here. So I'm looking for, I don't have to get 124.40, although I'm sitting at the exact price that we got in before. Daniel's asking me what I think about Pepsi. That's weird. We never talk about Pepsi. And
Pepsi's
Obi, did we not talk about
We talked about it this morning.
This morning in the pre-market.
I keep an eye on Tesla. Nice. Tesla Pepsi.
Tesla?
Tesla Okay. No, I do keep an eye on Pepsi because it's a staple name.
Elon to buy Pepsi?
Maybe. I don't know. I wonder what Elon likes, Coke or Pepsi? Or Dr. Pepper? I'm a Dr. Pepper person.
I'm going to go with
Put
Elon.
all 3 in front of me.
I'm going to go with Elon doesn't probably like Mountain Dew.
Really?
Yes. I don't know.
I'll ask him next time I see him.
Yeah, you should just message him on X.
Yeah.
Shoot, he might answer that question.
I mean, yeah. He's been pretty active.
No, Pepsi doesn't look good.
No. It's actually breaking down some significant range.
It doesn't look good at all. And the conversation we were having is I've owned this one in my long-term account, and I currently own like Walmart and Amazon, and this has been like sort of a staple for me. And I don't think it's that good anymore. And you should buy Coke is a better one if you're looking at it. And the conclusion I came is any money that I had intended on buying a dip in Costco or maybe going back into Pepsi or adding back into Pepsi, because I still probably have some shares of this thing, I just bought Walmart instead off the 50 period. And this is what it looks like on the daily. But what's bad about it is what it's doing off of the weekly chart. So this is what's really bad for Pepsi. Like this is a 200 period on the weekly. Now everyone on a weekly chart, if something consolidates and loses under the 200 period on a weekly, generally speaking, I have to really love that stock not to want out of it. And it just becomes not a buy for me. Unless it's like, if this happened to like Apple, I'd be like, I'd probably still like Apple. But this, no. I think you let it get back into where the buying was good, like 130, 100. Like it's got to start testing levels like that. Like the 20, if it gets back into pandemic bottoms, sure. But this is very unhealthy. What just happened in Pepsi, you really got to let things settle down when they go into that type of a range. You don't want to be jumping the gun, trying to catch some kind of a bottom. It doesn't look very good on that stock. I think you can find better places to be. Darth Buddha, we're gonna get a COVID low test. Yeah, I think.
You think that's where it's trying to wash?
Well, let's go. Yeah, I mean, really, that's what it looks like to me. Like so it just broke this consolidation here. The bounce from that low was 155 into 183. That's $28. So if it just does that same range, you're pulling back into I guess the COVID higher low. So just even technically, this move should take you to the 2021 support level, which is about $130. And if that breaks, all you have left is the COVID low. So yeah, I think that's very possible for Pepsi. It's an unhealthy stock right now, and their products aren't that healthy either.
No, yeah, definitely.
True.
No, almost wow, there goes Rumble back down into 13. So yeah, the trend break is coming in now. Again, market tailwind as well. We're getting that push back down through that 21,700 on the NASDAQ as well. So market's taking a little bit of a breather, a little bit of a pullback. Like I said, we've been holding this bid for quite the while here. Again, the NASDAQ bid, you can see this aggressive candle, the sell candle that gets bought up on top of, we'll call it 21 halves. Sure, you wash it about 20 points there, going down to 21,480s, and then picks up, holds above that 21 half for a push up, break of trend as well coming in on that as well. But yeah, a little bit of a reversion of the reversion currently happening going into the last hour of the day. I don't know if we're going to get VWAP here, Neil, but we're starting to make our way towards it. So I'm just going to...
Oh, no way.
Shout out to Sharif. Going to pack my patience. No way, what? What's going on there?
Soul Glow is halting to the upside, although it's not technically Soul Glow. I'm a huge fan of Coming to America. And I've told this story before live on the show. SLGL, it's not actually Soul Glow. The name of this company is Soul Gel Technologies, which...
Are they into like...
I mean, it kind of makes it sound like they've got some ridiculously high-tech jerry curl or something. Like, that's where my brain's going with this thing. But anyways, it's trying to break $1, and it's going to the upside. And if you've never seen Coming to America, which you probably have not seen Coming to America, Soul Glow is the name of like a fictional jerry curl like activator.
I think I've
thing.
seen
and
the...
that's like the family-owned Soul Glow. And they had this whole, like they got the theme song. It's this ridiculously cheesy saxophone playing. And
I've seen the cover. It's on my to-watch list because
you've got to watch
Eddie Murphy.
That music, the Soul Glow music and that theme song, I had one dream for my wedding, as was shot down mercilessly by my wife. I wanted us to walk in to the Soul Glow music. And
I gotta hear this song now.
You've got to play it. It's so great. I thought it would be the most epic thing of all time.
What did she say about that?
She just looked me dead in the eye and she rolled her eyes. I was like, okay, well, probably
So did you guys do it?
Let's not. What do you mean, did we do it? Come on, son. No. No, we did not do it.
All right.
Did we do it? Like, we're still, yeah, exactly. We're still married. That's how you know we didn't do it.
Sometimes
but Soul Glow is now halted.
You gotta give it a pretty please, you know?
Pretty please.
Yeah. You're like, I really love this song. No? All right. Well, market's coming to the downside.
Married, are you?
No.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
Married to these markets, Neil.
Hey,
oh
true
boy.
that. True that.
Yeah.
True that.
So for 427.8s is coming in, flushing to the downside a little bit here for the continuation. Let's see. Last place we sold off and found a little bit of a bid was over here at 21,660s on the NASDAQ. So let's see. We're kind of raging into that level as of right now. Let's see if we can find a bid. That's where the bid was when we pulled back and took a little bit of a break last time. Do we get a higher low? That was a question I was asking earlier. So I'm kind of watching both the tape and the chart in and around some of these prior areas to see if we do catch a bid. But oh boy, Rumble back below 13, Neil.
It's really giving it up.
I'm seeing these flushes come in on the tape. You can see incrementally. Like, man, I really, again, I haven't touched a small to mid caps in a long while. A bit of a chase on this, but yeah, I don't really, I guess, tend to do too well with them, but it seems like certain times when a certain type of play does set up, it doesn't matter, right? If it's a certain type of breakout, certain type of reversion, it doesn't really matter too much, other than like what is if the price action is telling you and the chart is good, then yeah, the trade is potentially on, and I should definitely be taking attempts at that. But let's see what happens here. So we're getting a little bit of a bid up here. I got to keep an eye on some of these chips at
Tesla
the same time
up
as well. We were talking about that Softy breakout. Softy did break out of that, what is that noon kind of consolidation, but we didn't really get that far. We got up to we got up to 436s and then pull right back down towards the day lows there. Apple poised for a little bit of a low day test. S&P, again, we're watching the ES as well. A little bit of a pullback here, break of trend happening. Bitcoin 92 sixes.
If 92 goes, we got.
I mean, I like 80s. You know what I like more than 80s? I like 70s. And I like 50s even more, Neil.
Well, that tells me that you will be buying Bitcoin on the way down. I too will be. I love
reversions. I showed the break of trend on.
But you're not shorting Bitcoin.
Man.
Dollar
Maybe
says
not Bitcoin, but like
I got a dollar says
things
you don't
like Coinbase. Things like Mara Riot.
Coinbase,
things like
Mara.
MSTR, right? Where they're not really directly correlated, like something like an IBIT, but you know, there might be some interesting opportunities.
I know for a lot of crypto, it's like, yeah, for crypto heads are generally like, you don't short it. Like we'll day trade Mara short, you know, we'll day trade Coinbase short. Anyone around here actually holding long-term short, like, you know, you're not short. Well, maybe you would short the ETF. I know I wouldn't in my personal account. It is what it is. But I do think it is. I think if 92 goes, you do have to watch out, because there we go. Like, if you lose this support level here, like, why wouldn't you make the test of 90? I like this. It's like, Sean and I had this discussion because I was weird, because I had a bid at like 84 something for some reason, thinking that was the stink bid buy off here. But no, it's like it's above 85, so I moved it. Like, I'm trying to get 86s. And I think if 86 goes, I'm all over it, back out in front of the prior double top high, which is 74,000. I think that's the next place I would buy it. I tend to only ever want to buy, like, I'll buy that local dip, give it a shot there. If it makes a bigger one, back into that trend, the long trend that it held, I'd want to be buying back out in front of that. So I'm going to leave this trend line in, and don't know why it stopped going. I'll extend that at some point, and then if it can hold on to that on the way back. And Bitcoin does this, man. Like, it does big-time pullbacks. It's only pulled back 16,000 off 1008. When it makes an all-time high, we've seen 50%. So, I mean, if you don't think it can do a crazy move, like, it can absolutely do it. Check, for everyone that's still looking at it, and this is why we say be careful, the tap is $2.32. So I just saw it was Nate in the chat asking about the tap value on check. Yeah, it's indicating a 231 open, 231, 232. It's kind of going back and forth. But you got to be careful. When a stock is consolidating, great, tradable. When it's halt to halt, good luck, unless you're already in it. so they can pull back. And if you're trying to work a stop, like if you had a stop here, then what good is it when it gaps down to there? There's not much you can do about it. Soul Glow still wants to go. Oh no, it's SLGL. And no, I will not. Whoops, SLGL. And no, I will not sing the song. There are almost no males that could pull off singing of the Soul Glow music. Once you hear the song, you'll understand it. Like there's probably like 5 dudes alive that could possibly pull off singing that song. Now I have to wait because I tipped the wrong symbol there. How is Rumble looking? Not that great, to be honest with you. I can pull up the black chart for you in a quick little second here on Rumble while I wait for that one to sort of come back. Like Rumble held on to VWAP, but it's still in the downward channel since the high. So there's VWAP, it's held it, but it's still working lower highs on the way through. Like it probably needs to maybe break back above the 50s or bounce off VWAP in there. Try not to overtrade because I think you can, it's so easy to just say, let me buy the dip in front of VWAP and guess that it's gonna go. Whereas I kind of want to give things a real chance. Ooh, all right, Tesla's holding VWAP. Right, Tesla, there's a break underneath VWAP. There's the hold of VWAP. This is one. Tesla's up a couple of points today. Obviously, the 434 is a problem. But when it did this same setup, this is the only trade we had that worked on Tesla today was dip under VWAP, consolidate above VWAP, break away from the consolidation. So if it breaks away from 430, that would be the trade. So looking at Tesla here, and then you have room. Like even if it goes a couple of dollars and can't break 434, who cares? You still get yourself a nice win here. So eyeballs on Tesla. Need to see it break and hold above this 430, and then we'd take a similar trade here. Took the break, then added a bit of an accumulation at that higher level. Hopefully this can get a bit bullish on Tesla.
Yeah, hopefully. We're catching a strong bid here, Neil. We were talking about exactly kind of this kind of a push back towards those highs. You can see that 15-minute candle, that prior 15-minute candle pretty much wiping right back up aggressively here. And yeah, SMH goes all the way from 47.80s all the way up to 40 or 48.50s here. So I do want to kind of continue to get a little bit more involved if we're going to continue to if we're making lower highs here. But at this point, I think that if we're going to bid back up through those highs, I'm more than willing to give it back. And yeah, apparently the bid is pretty aggressive here on the whole market, as that you can see that 15-minute candle on both the ES and the Nasdaq, pretty aggressive. But here's the thing: we've seen this. I've been observing this quite a bit, where you get that strong candle where people might be like, oh, this is people call it like a topping tail or whatever. Like, oh, is the bid finally in because the 15 is so aggressive? And then it wipes that right after making the wick, and then it's like, all right, well, if technical trading is going to be targeted like that in a market like this, I definitely want to kind of, be nimble and kind of try to sidestep that as best as I can. Be quick.
Jump over the candlestick.
The candy stick. Oh.
The candy stick? It's a candlestick.
Candlestick. Oh.
Speaking of which.
Candlestick.
Well, on that note, yeah. Like it looked like AMD was going to hold, and then AMD did something similar. Like it pulled into VWAP, rejected, did miss it by a skosh there, but then it broke the prior bar low, so we're just going to work the trade into the low. One more time on AMD. I'm bearish on this bad boy. Maybe should be bearish on Tesla too. Like it doesn't want to break out the top. It's actually taking out the bottom. So instead of holding VWAP and taking out the top, now all of a sudden this trade has a chance to break down underneath VWAP. There's room to prior support at 427. There's room for it to hold underneath the 430 as well. So yeah, I'm kind of looking the other way. It would have been nice if it could have closed above VWAP, broken the 430. That's great, but it didn't happen. So what difference does it make? We're back in AMD short and probably need to look for something else. There's only 40 minutes to go, and it feels like we're breaking down here. Tesla, break 427.40, or before you do so, do a minor bounce to get a short off of VWAP here. So AMD's starting to work. I just got to fill in AMD. But there goes Tesla. It just broke 47.40. Hold beneath, give it a chance to close. I want it closing underneath or pulling back into VWAP for an entry on Tesla. I don't want to chase it too far. AMD just lost 124, so we are back into it. 123 is the target on AMD. I'll take some out 123.5. But I don't want to chase this move in Tesla. I'd like to see it maybe consolidate here or play back in to VWAP. Hamza saying, how about Rum for a short? Rumble? That's like the one stock yeah, let's not short Rumble.
Rumble.
It gets above VWAP.
Wow, look at that sell on Intel. Holy
I don't know, man.
slam into 20.
Yeah, I don't know about that one on Rumble. There's weaker stocks today. You know what I mean? Like I would just be inclined to think you can find a better short than Rumble today. It's not that it couldn't go down from here, and obviously you could have shorted it at $14, but it's not at 14 anymore. So I think you got to find something else. Why? What do you know, sometimes you get out of a long, and that's just a great short.
Yeah.
When Intel broke the trend, it was an easy short to VWAP. Yeah, well, it is what it is.
This is what I was saying earlier, like strong reasons to sell and strong reasons to buy.
Look at it on the 15.
It's like irregardless of whether you're long or short.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, the question I always ask myself is, if I was flat on the stock, what would I be doing?
Yeah.
And if the answer is I would be going short, then I should be covering at least a portion of a long if I'm in it, if not getting out of the long. So I always lean into that. Like if you weren't trading in the stock already, what would you do? And if the answer when it does this is I would go short, get out of a long or go short, then at least take an action, like make a decision, because it's obviously at an inflection point. Man, this is looking weak. Yeah, we could be pulling back for the rest of the afternoon.
A little bit, like I said, like literally when I was like, oh, I've seen these wicks kind of wipe back down. That's exactly what this market's kind of attempting to do as of right now. We pull back in, but again, lots of fugazi action here.
Can't even get into Tesla.
Pretty crazy, but I'm trying to do my best to kind of dance with these candles, dance with these wicks. As the market kind of chops around here, but yeah, a little bit of a pullback here. Let's see, only about 3 more candles, 15-minute candles left to print on the day, Neil, with 10 minutes, just under 10 minutes on this current candle. Let's see what we do with 21.7. Do we trade below? Do we close in and around here? Do we consolidate? Do we drop down to VWAP? Where is the VWAP on the futures here? I usually don't use VWAP on the NASDAQ, but let's take a quick look at where that currently is, and maybe we can get a little bit of an idea as well as to how far back of a pullback we're really looking for. Nope, that's volume profile. Okay, so 21.640s-ish. Yeah, 21.640s-ish I have here. We're trading at 21.690. So, okay, it's not that far away. Nothing too crazy just yet. Let's see if we can get down there by the end of the day here. Or do we just consolidate sideways and do nothing else? Softy's certainly been doing that on the day. If you look at Apple, yeah, Apple's been making lower highs, but relative to its opening range, it's been pretty much flat. Amazon's been pretty much flat. Alphabet looked like it did a V-shaped recovery, so there's definitely opportunities that happen in the morning session, but we're coming right back into the opening range there as well. Tesla, yeah, sure, there was that continuation flush off of the open, and then a bid back up towards the highs. We couldn't really break through the highs, and we're pulling back in now, Neil. So pretty much a flat day is going to show up on the daily chart here if we close in and around some of these ranges here. So a bit of a doji to start off, a doji day to start off on the week, it would seem, on some of these large cap names. Yeah, maybe what if Softy? I mean, I don't know if Softy's going to crack that low as of right now, but it has been kind of selling off there going into the close. So going to continue watching that one. But oh boy, the strongest of the chip bunch, definitely some NVIDIA. NVIDIA is very, very directional.
Oh, that's on my charts.
Hasn't really. Sorry.
I just realized it's been on my charts while you were talking.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not looking at the NVIDIA chart on these screens, but I am looking at the Nasdaq here as well and watching this SMH kind of just chop around on top of this 248 as of right now, 248, 249, bit of a chop in between these levels here. Again, I don't know what's going to happen, Neil, but I'm looking for that VWAP. If the VWAP will come in, then yeah, maybe. But this rally going into Christmas, definitely holding up to
Santa
its name
Claus
right now.
All right.
Oh boy. Price action's nice.
Well, I was about to say something about Apple, but then Tesla just broke down. So there's a consolidation underneath that prior low, which then broke down the bottom. So I'm like, okay, if it breaks out the bottom, I'll take it and give it back to the prior high, thinking there's a lot of room on this trade, although there's not a lot of time, which is the other factor. Yeah, it's not that much time. So I went in min risk here because I wanted to be able to give it the entirety of the range and think that there's room to 420, but also room to 423. That's the idea there with Tesla. If it breaks out this local high, I can always jump out of it. In fact, that's exactly where I'm going to throw my stop. So let me get that in there. And then I will talk about Apple. Because I did see in the chat, someone's like, you guys never talk about Apple. You're not talking about Apple. Okay, so here's the problem with Apple. It's not doing anything today. Now, it's great. I love the stock, 52-week high again, and then tested a breakout today, failed the breakout. But look at the afternoon range on Friday on the strong day in Apple. There's your bottom at 252.7, and then there is your top. It spent the entire day just trading inside of this range here on Apple. There's not much you're going to do with that unless you're absolute bottom long or absolute top long. Like, I'd rather take a shot. Like, I mean, Tesla may not work here, obviously. Yeah, so I took the break. Give me a break. I just shrieked it again, which means I meant to put a stop at 4. I'd swear I put 427.70, not 426.70. So I will get back in and I will have the stop above here because that was the intention the entire way. But my point is, like, I would rather trade a Tesla, which when it's traded away from VWAP has traded $5, $6 from VWAP, where if this consolidation breaks down, it could easily test 420. Like, we've seen it do those moves. It's been moving like that today. The volatility at the close on Friday, Tesla dropped $15 off these same price levels, like starting at the same price levels. So it's just that it's more tradable, I think, off these levels here on Tesla in terms of giving us some opportunities. So that's what it's more about here. You just want to look for shots that can give you good risk reward, give you something to sink your teeth into. Whether it wins or loses, you want there to at least been potential upside on the trade there. So if there's something else that, hey, always let us know what's working or what you're trading, no issues with that. And we're never trying to ignore anything. It's just, I find there's always something that we're not giving enough attention to. And I get it that Apple, while an important stock, it's in almost everyone's portfolio, isn't always something that as a day trader we're going to get on into. Rumble is, now Rumble's putting in a higher low.
Oh boy.
See?
Yeah, held that 13 quite well.
Yeah, it's bouncing off VWAP and putting in a higher low off that. It feels like it wants to go again. Watch this go in the aftermarket. Like, Darren and I'll be doing the aftermarket show, and then you guys will be screaming at us that Rumble's at $15. It feels like that's what's coming.
Yeah. Maybe, potentially. We'll see. I mean, we talk about the short float, right? We talk about how it's been holding up pretty well. We have that catalyst that came out in the morning session, and we got that strong continuation with a hold of trend and a nice little action to the upside. Pulls back into that VWAP, showing us some more strength as that VWAP holds and consolidates a little bit higher. We attempt to break through the day highs there at 14 and some change. 1420s, I think it was, and then we only get to 1460s before taking a pullback all the way down into VWAP there on Rumble. So it's held VWAP. I think that's definitely pretty decent. Let's see if that continuation happens going into the next day there on Rumble. But remember, tomorrow's a half day, So again. Maybe not as much time to trade, but I don't know if that comes with a shorter range either. We'll have to wait and find out. But
I find volatility isn't as affected by the half day as you would think.
Yeah.
But part of that should be obvious. Like, if you look at, have a look at when stocks run at the point at which they make their highs. Like, even Rumble, Rumble's high at 11 o'clock was 1420. Okay, so just after 1, it was able to break that high, but it only went another 40 cents. Like, if you get an early move on something tomorrow, there's nothing wrong. You can still get just as big of a move volatility-wise as you normally would. So I wouldn't sleep on that aspect of it. It's just a matter of that continuation. What you have to worry about is a continuation play. You're not, tomorrow, you're not looking for that, hey, let's let it bounce off VWAP and get back to the high of the day notion. Not as much. Not so much. It could happen, but I'm not as bullish on that type of a thing usually. You want to get that first move, and then after that, you want to chill out, have a little bit of eggnog and, whatever else you might want to put into it with that eggnog is up to you. Because I wouldn't, I'm not saying, I would never tell anybody, hey, you got to do this or you got to do that. But, I know for myself, I like to have a little bit of fun with my eggnog and make sure that you spice it up a little bit, spruce it up a little bit there. So everyone do you, but I think you don't want to overtrade, especially in the second half of the day tomorrow. That's what the half day means. Sometimes you will get continuations on longs, like NVIDIA. If you look at the opening range, like halfway through the day, it did make another press up. Great. But a lot of times when you look at these big runners, how often do we see how much further did it go past noon? And not a heck of a lot. There's always opportunities out there. Like I said, we're short Tesla. AMD starting to push back a little bit into VWAP. So I got a reload, and then it came right back into 124 again. And so I'm going to take one more reload, although it's 3:30. All right, I just got filled anyway. I was actually contemplating canceling that order. And one of the reasons was, like, Tesla just broke its local bottom. So I took the consolidation on Tesla. It ends up breaking the consolidation, so I'm out of that. And I was about to consider canceling the reload on AMD, because now it's held at 124 a couple of times. So this is the third time we've had AMD, and we'll see if the third time's the charm. But if it gets out and about above VWAP, I'm going to get out of it. I plan on not fighting anything or holding it too far against me on any of these stocks. Not in the afternoon. You don't want to give back too much here. And it's also a sloppy reload. Like I'm shorting the level, not the move. Like there's no reversion yet on this thing. It's going into resistance, but I'd rather have a bad price with trend than a good price getting run over. But we've taken it. If we break VWAP, I'm going to jump out of that trade. SLGL, our good friend SolGlow, continues to go. Now at $1.40, this thing amuses me because it's got no liquidity, yet it's done 7 million shares. Doing absolutely nothing until 3 o'clock. And all of a sudden it came to life. And now it's done 7.5 million shares and continues to go higher. That's insane.
Yeah, absolutely kind of wild action here. So we did pull back all the way in, and then take a look at where this candle is about to close here, Neil. So a bit of a double bid up into this, back into these, what is this, 21.7. So we're holding 21.7s well going into the close here. So yeah, this SMH, I did kind of add into it a little bit underneath this 249, but we kind of come right back up to break even there. So a little bit of a miss on my part. I was looking for a little much there going into the close, looking for that VWAP to come in. We don't really get there. We got about a point down below that 249, but hold, sustain 248s, and then catching a little bit of a bid going into the close here. So yeah, selling attempting to push back below that 21.7, but if that's going to be strong here, I do want to look to piece out of this trade soon enough if we're going to continue to close strong into the end of the day. Oh boy, Neil, this action chopping everybody up left, right, and center. But it seems like the longs on the chips off of the morning session kind of hold was the way to go here, and we're continuing to bid up into the close as of right now. So aggressive bid. It'll be interesting tomorrow to see if that bid kind of continues, or maybe we get that pullback tomorrow. But oh boy, the Santa Claus rally, Neil, is definitely coming into fruition as of right now.
I was so close. Like I was actually canceling this third short in AMD, but we took it. I'm now out of it. I'm not going to, like I said, I do not want to fight it. But you can see the difference just before we go over to Adara. There's it breaking down on momentum. Okay, so that short makes sense. There's it coming back into resistance and breaking down there. That short makes sense. There's it holding 124 multiple times and breaking back to the upside. You can like a price level, but there's still, and again, you don't have to have it. It's not like it's huge or anything. It's a tight stop, but there's no need to have it. Like it's not showing you selling at that price. This one's clean. It's just a breakdown. It's obvious to see a rejection of the same level and then get in short. You can get a better price, but who cares? So unless it gives you an entry point, it's not just about the levels as far as I'm concerned. Like you've got to have an entry strategy as well. And another thing that we always care about is what's going on in sectors other than tech. So let's do that at the screen.
You might be out of luck here, Neil, because two of the three names here are going to be covered on the Sector Watch are actually in the tech space. But as we always do here, as we finish Power Hour and the session, take a look at some of these larger movers to the upside and the downside, names that are moving different sectors. We're going to look at some names that are leading their respective sectors, starting here with the electronic technology sector, because there are a couple different semiconductor catalysts to be aware of. Starting here with Broadcom, one of the leaders here that semis pushed to the upside. It's still up more than 5%. This morning, we did have the U.S. announcing it's going to be opening an investigation looking into China's policies for the semiconductor industry, specifically with regards to its legacy chips. The Chinese Ministry of Commerce already responded to this, basically saying that they would urge the U.S. to consider facts. So interesting look there. Does not seem to approve of this investigation. And then AMD was already strong, but then I also found that this actually came out a little bit later that wouldn't explain the amount of interest we had pre-market or necessarily this push at the open. But we did have Rosenblatt around 6 hours ago saying that AMD and Micron are some of their top analyst picks for AI and tech into 2025. AMD, they did maintain a $250 price target, which is well above where we're currently trading. So AMD, great look there from Rosenblatt. Last but not least, LLY, Eli Lilly, trying to make days high here, just shy of $800, getting FDA approval on Friday evening for their Zepbound treatment, which is already being used there for obesity, now also being approved for use in moderate to severe obstructive sleep apnea. So keep an eye here for LLY. Lots of tickers to keep an eye on, guys. Make sure to like and subscribe if you're enjoying the content. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Adara.
Yes, sir. And shout out to Amin Rahman in the chat here, because 2 out of these 3 things are incredibly on point. I'll let you guys decide which 2. Die Hard and with popcorn are best Christmas day ever. I'm down with you right there. But see this, and if you're watching the chat, this is me circling it and not acknowledging because it's not pizza if it has this on it. So therefore, Die Hard and popcorn is great. Get a pie, but get a good one. You put that on pizza, and it's disgusting, and that makes it not pizza in my humble estimation. That said, Die Hard is 100% part of my Christmas routine in our household. Maybe not getting my daughter involved with that just yet, but at some point, she'll get on board with it. Oh no, Soul Glow's halted down. Well, that's what happens on these. So again, it doesn't really stay open for very long. It's not one of those that was very liquid in terms of giving you opportunities to trade. There's a second time down halt. I don't see how you trade things like this unless they can open for a greater amount of time. Like you've seen this, we've seen check. Check finally opens for more than 1 minute or 2 on the way back, but it goes right back in. This is the problem. You can have a long in here, but even if you have a stop order, it does this. Look at the gap. It opens back up at 220. Like if you're long this breakout, like you could be long at, okay, there's your consolidation, there's the break of a high. Like I guess you could have 160. Maybe you're long at 150. You're at a double up. And if you had a trailing stop when you got a double up, like a trailing stop, say a stop to here, instead of being out at 270, you're out at 220. That's a lot of profit that you lost. And you could say, but I still made money on it. But then you got to think about if my long was from here to here, well, then you were risking 20%, hopefully to make 70, 80, 90, 100%, not make 50%. Like it skews your entire risk to reward over the whole duration of the amount of times you would take that trade. So yeah, you still would have made money on it, but the fact that you couldn't have a reasonable trailing stop on it makes it an incredibly dangerous strategy to be playing with and ever scaling up on, because good luck scaling up on something which you can't reasonably project what your downside is or where you would get an execution out. So I'll give one more chance for AMD. Look at the difference here. It's now trying to fail underneath VWAP one more time. It is past 330, so we should look at the early look imbalances. Remember, on Friday it was a witching day. It was also NASDAQ rebalancing, year-end rebalancing on the S&P 500. So you usually see big, massive imbalances. Anything that had a big one on Friday, if I see it there again, I probably want to respect it, though the early looks have QBTS, that's from the morning. Kenvue, that tends to always have stuff. Like Merck and Pfizer, not very interesting at all. So right now, Walmart would be interesting if it was a few million shares. So nothing on the early look imbalances to worry about, but you got to keep an eye out for 350 when they come in earnest.
Yeah, so eSignal. Trade smarter, not harder, and upgrade to an elite trading experience. Analyze, strategize, capitalize, and foresee profitable opportunities with the platform that you need. Infinite data and instant trading. Know where the market is moving before others with lightning-fast data. Charts that change the game. Customize and analyze markets faster your way. Better backtesting and scanning. Predict the future by understanding the past. Reliable, real-time data. Up-to-the-second market information from hundreds of global markets. Everything that you need, all in one place. Don't miss a beat and execute your best trades now. Ready to elevate your trading? Scan the QR code or check the link in the description. eSignal.
Great platform. Shout out to eSignal, but shout out to the bulls.
Oh boy.
Running again. Sorry, I was just looking at the SLGL. I was kind of curious. The tap is flat on this thing, so I guess it's not going to do much of anything. Be careful with anything that's halts. like this, like late in the day, because after 350, any halt doesn't reopen again. They won't open in 5 minutes on the volatility halt. It'll open at 4 o'clock, like at the close. So probably a good idea to have gotten away from Tesla in that consolidation. Man, I kind of thought Tesla, after the long working, was going to give us one of these, like it did on Friday, which is a sell-off from this level. But Tesla looking pretty bullish. This would be a really good sign for Tesla to hold the 420, hold some higher lows, and maybe retest the highs. A bit of a difference. I still say overall, you're in this pullback phase since the 480 level, and you've made lower highs since. But the 420 break held the top and then lost it. Well, it could still get to this top and lose it again tomorrow. So it's still lower highs into the 420 level, but it's at least looking a little bit better than it was 5-10 minutes ago. Not really too much that I'm looking at. I still have AMD's now gone. Any chance to trade it off the same entry we had before? I think that ship has sailed. You're now holding above VWAP, looking a little bit too strong. So we're just scalping this one after a VWAP break, figuring, hey, you don't want to overtrade. Let's trade something that makes a lot of sense. So keep it relatively simple. Now it's holding above VWAP. I don't really see a trade. I don't want to go long AMD here. With only 10 minutes to go until the imbalances come out, I might be waiting till the back end unless something really catches my eye.
Yeah, I think we definitely have to wait for some of these imbalances to come out here. The bid is continuing pretty strong here on both the ES and the NASDAQ. You can see ES very strong as well, coming back up into its highs as of right now. And yeah, SMH as well. I'm kind of, like I said, involved in SMH here. Came all the way back to 249s. As of right now. So yeah, that bid definitely coming in with only about 20 minutes left in the trading day before the bell. And oh boy, we're getting a little bit of selling here. But with only about 20 minutes left into the end of the day and 10 minutes for those imbalances, let's take a quick look at what some of these large caps have been up to. So yeah, nothing is, we've kind of covered this a few minutes ago. We're talking about everything kind of closing within its range. The only thing that isn't necessarily anywhere near its opening range is NVIDIA. Even some of the other chips, not really as strong, other than TSM, of course. Again, AMD still strong, but taking a bit of a pullback here. Intel a little strong. SMCI, nothing too crazy. Flat action on that one, Neil. Micron, nothing too crazy. ARM, again, strong drive off of the open to the downside. Reverts a good chunk of the move, and then kind of chops sideways as well. I'm curious to know whether we open or we close above or below this 21.7 on the NASDAQ here. There goes Rumble coming back down into 13s here. So we kind of talk about trend breaks happening on, if I can fit this in here. All right, so trend breaks happening here on that. Again, failure to follow through, day highs, consolidation, breaks down, and continues to the downside here. VWAP sitting at 1243, so we're kind of consolidating on top of that as of right now. So maybe coming into those levels, going into the close here. Again, less than 20 minutes now. What have you guys been trading? Let us know in the chat. We're more than willing to kind of take a look at some of those names. Yeah, after it's looking like I'm going to get stopped out of this SMH trade, and when I do, again, more than willing to take a look at some of these other tickers here. What's happening?
Rumble's falling.
Rumble's cracked.
Luis saying Rigetti in the chat. Huge short Rigetti. I don't even think I paid for locates. I don't remember if I paid for locates on Rigetti. I'm guessing I did not. I think it was something else. But yeah, Rigetti's been good at VWAP for a short, so I don't disagree with that. But it is Rumble for the first time looking a little bit, yeah, it's looking weak. Like this one could break down underneath VWAP. Like you want something that has room, in general, the general sense is, like you want to trade something that has room to go from the point that you enter. And like this has got decent room on a VWAP break. I mean, support's at 25, so that gives you like 40 cents there. And then another support level is 1150. So if you're looking at some charts from earlier in the morning, there's a lot of these crazy dark pool wicks. What I can tell you is the dip from this high did hold at $11.50. You just have a bunch of dark pool wicks down here underneath $11, but really it held here. So if this were to break down, you'd still have a little bit of room for it to go, but it's only 7 minutes till the imbalances are going to come through, and this market is kind of screaming higher in here, and it's dragging a lot of things up with it. The Qs pretty much right back into the tops. Early Santa Claus rally.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, why not? Like, we're trending, the Qs are trending right into the top. What I would say is you obviously have a double top here at the lower high from Friday. So there's your resistance in about 40 cents on the Qs. Hence, I wouldn't necessarily want to chase anything up here. Just be careful with it. SPY is a very similar look, whether you track the Q or the SPYs. The only difference is the SPY is actually taking it out. Still overhead resistance at the actual highs from Friday, but a little bit more strength here on the SPY. That is an interesting take there. Damien, and that's about as bullish as you can get. 600 by end of the day on the SPY.
Oh, boy.
That is a tall ask in 15 minutes. Now, if you had told me we're going to get to like Friday's high, 96, I don't have an issue there. But that's a bit of a tall tale. What I would tell you about the SPY, I thought I had a trend. Okay, whatever. I thought I had this drawn on the SPY. Well, I think you'll get the idea here. Like, this is the SPY. So if you go from the August low, the SPY broke the trend underneath the August low. And we were talking about this with Brian Shannon. It's like, be careful about that initial bounce, because if it simply fails back in here, then it's going to trap some longs when it's still underneath the trend and it's kind of trying to break that 50-period moving average. So if it closes above the 50, puts in some higher lows, and gets out and about above 600, great. But if we never take that out, you got to be very, very careful. Like, from a technical standpoint, those levels, like that, anything trending off that August bottom, those are trends you don't want to break, and you want to be careful about some continuation. So it looks like a good bottoming tail candle and a reversal on the SPY, but as long as it holds a higher low after doing that, it's not out of the water yet, as far as I'm concerned. As far as I'm concerned, you've lost the trend, and you have yet to break out after your recovery day. When you make a bottom, great. The next thing you always want to do after a bottom is made in a slight downward trend or a reversal is you need to hold a higher low, and then you need to break out the top. So there's your higher low. It's more of an area than anything else, but you have yet to break out the top, which means a break back down very much in play. Oh, it's a little bit. Now AMD is setting up, but it's like 345. Yeah, topping tail, like it could get back underneath VWAP, but it's a little bit late in the day. I probably don't pull the trigger on this. Ari Pages in the chat. Shout out to you, Ari. Thank you for the support and thank you for the question. Thoughts on Kelsey Grammer being one of the greatest actors of all time? Is that a joke? Are you trolling me? I have no idea who that is. Yeah, you're trolling. Look, man. I grew up watching. Like, Cheers was a good show. I certainly watched it. I thought Woody Harrelson was hilarious in that. My pops was into like some shows like that, so I used to like all the shows that I would watch with my dad. Like, I just love them because, you know, it was stuff that I was doing with my dad, so it was automatically good for me. But the idea that Kelsey Grammer is one of the greatest actors of all time is, I mean, he's had an incredibly successful career, but I'm sure we can think of some better people. Walmart had a decent day. CFAB 23. Well, I'd argue that Walmart didn't have a very good day, but it made a pretty good bottom. Remember what I said, Omi?
About, yeah.
So I was like, today, when I talked about, hey, you know what? Sometimes I want to buy a stock when it bounces into the 200-period moving average on a pullback. But you have to ask yourself, are you trading it or are you holding it forever? And if the answer is I'm holding it forever, then when it makes a bottom like this, why am I waiting for it to drop another day? Like, why don't I just buy it today? That's a pullback I was waiting for. So when I saw it down here and we ended the morning show, I went to my PA and just bought. So I own Walmart already. I was just adding to the position. I wanted to buy more on pullbacks because I don't feel like buying Costco anymore. I want to just stick with Walmart. So that's the only reason I was looking to add, is money I was going to put into Costco or something else. I decided I should just add to the Walmart position, which I did do today. I had to double check, but I got something in and around here, like 89.30 or so. And I like you, Walmart. Hopefully you can give us more of the goods. But I think good stocks, I like it to 50-period moving average. And it got pretty close to it as far as I'm concerned. So like, to me, it's always like start dollar cost averaging when everyone's freaking out that it's going into a downtrend if I like the stock. Yeah, it's been an approach that works for me. It's like, it doesn't mean that I get it all right now. I wouldn't. but I'd certainly start there, and I certainly would add to it in the 80s. And as I said, I'm basically looking to never sell in Walmart. Only 2 minutes to go to the imbalances. I'm not putting on any trades until we get to them.
Yeah, so you know what? I think I know what I want to do here. Kind of pushing into high a day, going into the close. So I definitely want to be a little ready for that one here, as that potentially comes in on this SMH here on the day. Very aggressive bid, right? Kind of pushing up into these imbalances again. Bid has been here all day, Neil, and the Santa Claus rally, it's here as well. So yeah, no, I definitely agree with you on that Walmart trade idea. It's like, yeah, if you like the ticker and it's been going up on a higher time frame, you can take a look at the Walmart's chart since inception, and it's one of the prime examples of stonks only go up. Right. That's what I call those charts, which is like, you know, all these staples that just have these incremental runs. And yeah, sure, they take pullbacks during outlier times like COVID or 08 crashes, whatnot. And those are some of the best times to buy when you have that VIX unusual VIX spikes into some of those events. And yeah, prime examples of very strong stocks. So,
you know what? And another prime example of something amazing, not just Walmart stock, but we ready for it, Fabian? Yes. Oh, we'll give it a second. Yes. We are ready for it. Trade ideas this Christmas. Give yourself the gift of smarter trading with trade ideas. Don't miss out on 25% off all subscriptions, including upgrades to premium. Unlock powerful trading tools and insights to take your strategies to the next level. But hurry, the special offer ends December 26th. Use code TraderTV25 at checkout to save big. Visit TradeIdeas.com today and make this holiday season your most profitable yet. Shout out to Trade Ideas and the fact that we just finished that to be able to give you the imbalances.
Oh boy.
We got Alphabet, 1.7 million to the buy side, penny stock to the sell side, who cares? FXI, interestingly enough, with a 1.8 million buy on FXI, the ETF. SLV, a buy of one. Where'd it go? Okay, SLV was there and it just disappeared. So Google's a big one at 1.7. You've got AAL at 1.4 million, Apple 1.2 million to the buy side. NVIDIA's a sell of 1 million though. So you have a couple of buys there with Alphabet and Apple, but NVIDIA sell of 1 million. Walmart didn't do anything. So it looks like those are the big ones here. We got Google, we got Apple, NVIDIA to the sell side, and SolGlow's halted upside again. So if you enjoy this one, congratulations if you kept the long in SolGlow. Just let it shine through.
I wish I could listen to this.
I wish I could sing it. Trust me, man. Like, you can hear the bass in my voice. Like, there's just no way in hell I could pull that off. And someone told me to look up who does sing it. I've never heard of them, but like you wouldn't think a dude sings it. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
It's just like it's impossible.
But it is. Is what you're hinting at there. Okay.
Well, I mean, obviously, but I couldn't.
Yeah. All right. So, okay. So stopped out of the SMH as it kind of continues to hold above 249. So all right, that was definitely my miss. I didn't take a point in the money, but I was looking for that VWAP. Never really got that to come in. I think this ad right here, I could be doing a little bit better, getting out on the break of this trend. So we talk about the reversion of the reversion here. I'm actually adding when it breaks this prior high. When I guess it makes a little bit more sense just to stop out there and reassess below this 249. But yeah, look at that aggressive bid. So it seems like this SMH poised for a break of highs there. There goes the ES as well, printing fresh highs, Neil. So the longs are definitely strong, and the Santa Claus rally, like we said, is coming into fruition. Oh boy, look at this. You remember HMC from this morning? Honda Motor Company, look at the bid that this thing has been catching. Very grinding kind of bid all the way back up. V-shaped reversion happening here on Honda Motor Company. Now again, they had news in the morning as they are looking to merge with, I didn't quite read the specifics, but like, yeah, with Nissan. So interestingly enough, strong gap up off of prior days lows there. Prior days lows coming in at 23s, 24s. We open up in and around 27s on the day today. But yeah, take a look at this on a, let's say, a 15-minute chart. Neil, look at this. See that back to back kind of buying off of the break of trend, and we're continuing into the close here. A little bit of consolidation where price action gets tight, bit of a flag on a shorter time frame, and continues back up into VWAP. So
A+ mean reversion.
It looks like programmatic buying. It looks like there's definitely a buyer on here, but I don't know. I wasn't necessarily watching the tape.
Look how clean. Like if you draw that trend, you get the break of the trend. Then what makes it so good? And I don't know if you can zoom in on that, like right in on that bottom.
Higher time frame or the same time frame?
Yeah, so like right in on that bottom. Like if you like the trend break happens, and that next green bar, like that's what 10 cents. You can get long somewhere between 26.40 and 50.
Less than 10 cents.
And you have your very, very tight risk. And look at how good the trend is. What I love about it is if you look, it's pretty much straight down from $27 to $26.35.
Yeah.
So you can find a long with that kind of room back to the prior big level, and you're only risking 10 cents on it. That's the trade you're looking for. Like the whole idea is to find a setup and an entry that gives you a lot of opportunity to work. I saw in the chat, and so whoever pointed this out, I was trying to find it. It was Faisal in the chat. A shout out to you. Thank you very much, Faisal, for pointing this name out. Enphase. I don't think anyone has said anything about Enphase today. But if you, and I get it, I completely understand anything in the space has been absolute trash. Come to my chart for a second, Fabian. Anything in the space has been absolute trash for a while. However, this stock, what happened? Anyways, it's trying to break double bottom and trying to take out the 50 period again. So you have a double bottom here, hold this higher low. If it can close above the 50 period to the 200, the 200 hold to a break. Like there's multiple things that have to happen, but when you can start to structure trades off the low, it's not there yet, but this has to be on a watch list for a bit of a bottoming pattern happening on Enphase. I just heard whoa, whoa, whoa. Was that an imbalance of some sort?
Yeah, so going into the pairing at 55, SMH just rips up 40 pennies and then slams back down into 49. I was actually like, okay, well, do I queue up for another short going into the last 5 minutes? And I'm about to hit 249s, and it rips up to 3040s right before I am about to hit the keys. That's why I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Glad I held back for that one there. But yeah, no, nothing really too crazy as of right now. Still holding that 249. So yeah, I guess the missed opportunity was this pullback in towards this VWAP here. Do we get all the way down to 247 halves in the next 5 minutes? Who knows? Maybe, but the NASDAQ is pretty strong, and ES is making some fresh highs as well. And here comes a little bit of selling on HMC as we were looking at it there going into the close. So, yeah. What was this in the conversation? It says somebody's saying I'm on the naughty list. Oh, so yeah, okay. So Video News is, I guess, was replying to Adara. So did the market end up on the naughty list or the nice list?
That's a good question.
Adara's asking me. So I don't know. I think the market was pretty nice, but I might have been a little naughty.
Ooh, uh-oh.
So we do have to take a look at those coal futures coming into the close as well. Chung indeed.
Well, with that, I just realized it's like 3:57, so I need to mosey onto the desk and log in and all the things that you do to prepare. I'll see you when Adair and I are going to be on the aftermarket show. We got Michael Noss, the Noss boss, and thank you. I just saw in the chat someone mentioning have a look at FSLR, and this is something Michael Noss would always say. If you're looking at a reversal in a particular market or a segment of the market, try to get the strongest stock out of it. So if the solar names are going to go, you don't have to have Enphase. FSLR is a little bit stronger. So I'm going to see if I can't find the best one of the bunch, because I am looking for a swing off the bottom after that snowflake trade. See if we can find another one there. But we'll see you in a couple of minutes. Obi,
yes, sir.
Stay off that naughty list. And good luck. I don't know if you take anything in the last 2 minutes, but we'll see you in a couple.
I got nothing on there. Again, had a couple ideas today. We can review my trades. I definitely did not make good decisions on the day today. Yeah, we can go through them. Again, still educational nonetheless in terms of what decisions I'm making. So first one was RGTI.
Oh, it broke?
Let's go to that one.
Oh, I didn't.
And see what that one is up to as of right now. RGTI, again, I liked kind of, again, buying up the whole 30-minute range while IONQ is looking kind of weak there. I was looking for a push on this, a sustain and hold and a push on this. We attempted to push past 12s, but I think the trade here, even if I'm being a little wide and kind of buying up a lot of different prices, after this action happens and we kind of grab that 1220s and flush back down, I got to be done in and around here. And I think I was in and around that VWAP, volume weighted average price, as well coming into this move. So I was looking for a sustain, hold, a VWAP, and a push continuation, and that doesn't really come in and breaks trend to the downside. So instead of kind of holding on to it, adding and stopping out near the low of the range on the day, that can definitely be stopping out on the break of this action, because yes, sure, this is what I'm looking for. This is what I see. My average is in and around here because I'm buying this whole range, and it doesn't go. I gotta, you know, pack, not really pack my patience, but pack my bags and be like, all right, well, I'm out of this one for now, because that was what I wanted to see, and this is against what I want to see. I want to see a sustain of VWAP, sustain of this consolidation high. That doesn't really happen. Flushes to the downside. Can definitely be making a little bit of a better decision on that one, and maybe even getting short, because again, the sector, one of the sector leaders, IONQ, is quite weak on the day as well. So going to keep that in mind. Only about 30 seconds left here. I got to pull up the Stream Deck is what it's called here. So let me quickly pull up the Stream Deck, and so we can get on that countdown timer, because I see that Adara is already at the desk. The other name that I traded was Rumble. Didn't really take too big of a hit on Rumble, but again, the long was definitely not wrong on that ticker, as aggressively strong off of the open. That 10 hold, you got to watch that anchored VWAP, guys, because that is where it was at. So we only got 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Thank you, Adara. A bit of a see. I front ran the timer too, so you guys can see that I'm a little bit out of tune on the day today. Holiday trading. Hopefully, you guys have some good holidays as well. We'll see you guys tomorrow. So as Neil and Adara get ready at the big desk, hopefully you guys have had a good trading day today. And what did you guys trade today? Were you guys up on the day? Were you guys down on the day? Did you make good decisions? I'll be here reading your comments during the market recap as well. So make sure you throw it in there, and I will try to participate as well. But I think they are ready for us. All right, cool. So without any further ado, guys, don't go anywhere. Market recap with Adara and Neil. See ya.
Welcome, everybody. Good to see you, Adara. Who says you can't have fun on a holiday, shortened week where everyone's expecting light volumes? I mean, come on now. The Qs pretty much closing on daily highs. I know we're only up 0.8%, but like, what are we complaining about here? The Nasdaq did outperform the SPY here. That said, now, percentage-wise, it did. But I just wanted to pull up the chart, because you can see it actually broke out. And at the end of the day, it was the SPY that was breaking out of its local high. So yes, NASDAQ beat the SPY, but at the end of the day, the SPY was the one that made a new fresh high on the day instead of just getting back to the one from earlier. So strength along both lines there. You had a wealth of small cap names go. And I think you got to remember that, okay? So remember this for tomorrow on the half day. Remember this for when we come back from Christmas. Some of you will be trading on Boxing Day. I will not. And then remember this on the 27th. Remember this next week. When you have holiday shortened weeks, when you have lower volume, sometimes you're going to get better opportunities on small cap names. Because I'll tell you, in the morning, Rumble had done literally zero volume. Like, not literally zero. The near zero volume. For a gap up trade, I was completely shocked by how little volume this was doing in the pre-market, and it was just going sideways with no action. The second the market opened, it just melted higher. And suddenly it turned into the only stock that you needed. Rumble, of course, getting an investment from Tether. And
they're tethered together now.
They're tethered together. Well, there you go. And it was tethered to the long today. It was unbelievable. And like I said, you didn't need much of anything else if you got it early. If you got it late, you still got some fantastic continuation. So between strong moves in the markets, you had Rumble, you had Rigetti on the move here today. Even GameStop, like it's, you know what I mean? Like GameStop had no reason to go, and even it sustained an upward trend for most of the day. You know, dip off 30, and if you were playing that to the long side, you couldn't lose. So I feel like today was a good day for trading. You just didn't want to overtrade in the afternoon there. I think that made a lot of sense. And you didn't want to be fighting any trends. But those small caps and some of these halt trades were pretty spectacular. Late in the day, you saw a few things halt.
Yes, there were some fun trades for sure, yeah. That the BAC as well. This was, I feel like, maybe the under, and I'm actually going to show my chart if you guys don't mind here, because this is actually for the first time in a very long time where I have actually traded 2 takers today that were under $100. Like, I know, shocker. But basically what happened here was this BAC, we had this drop. Basically, you get the volume here. What had happened was we had this announcement basically from the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency that they have a cease and desist for the Bank of America. They violated the Bank Secrecies Act. And so then we get this drop. So I was kind of watching this. I like these kind of wicks into 43.40. That was initially where I wanted to go long. Then we end up, and I don't have VWAP on this chart because it's my show chart, but VWAP's around here. We're holding VWAP really nicely with like a base of 43.48. So I was like, you know what? I like this. I'll get long here. 43, but long 43.58. I risked to 43.48, and I took a good amount of size with this as well because I liked it. I could risk 1 risk unit. Started piecing out here as we got to these previous levels of resistance. My highest exit was about 20 cents here, so 43.78. Got stopped out here as we broke below this previous level, 43.68. So yeah, even my stop out, was able to take 10 cents. Yeah, really happy with this. This to me, like, I think was my trade of the day when it comes to just taking advantage of news, because you're not going to get all of this volume. So if you get an influx of volume, you want to take advantage of it. I will stop my trade rant now, but that was my big opportunity I'm happy I took advantage of today. Novo Nordisk, though, was great as well. And
another one.
I was involved in that all day, like in all the myriad directions, but I'm watching that tomorrow, Meta tomorrow on watch. And UNH has decided it will continue to do UNH things, so I will continue to watch it as long as it does that.
When you had said to me, because when I sat down at the desk, the first thing you said was, did you see Meta? I'm like, oh, did it fail the 600 again? Like, it's crazy. Like, it was almost like a low-key, another press, 2.6 bills on Meta. This is another strong name. 2.5% for Meta. It ends up, now it's back underneath 600 because, like, somehow magically I've jinxed it. Like, you got to be kidding me. But another 2 points here. There's definitely sellers at the $6 level. So yes, it pressed into $6. It did a break into 601, but you're still finding some overhead resistance. I like the stock, obviously. And this is going to be a theme, a few things that did this. All-time high, pull back into the 50-period moving average. You bounce, I'm bullish until it reverts the trend. So day one, after holding the 50 period, is the stock closes at 600. I think the next step would be a breakaway from all this selling here at the $600 level. And here's another one. I just want to quickly, because I saw this, it's from Kel Thies? Am I getting this name right? Here, you tell me. Kelthis?
I don't know.
Kelth Ice. Check out the daily close on Palantir. Sure, why not? And sometimes, like, we love shouting out everyone in the chat. If I get your name wrong in the chat, then it's all on me, and you can yell at me. Just as long as you hit the like and subscribe, you can yell at me all you want. Palantir. If you look at how this one closed, now, admittedly, I took one trade in Palantir, and it was a breakdown through 80. Essentially, my theory was, if it's making a 52-week high, there's a double top. If it fails the break, I want to go short. So this is what happened in the morning. It was gapped up, pulling back. It failed the high at the open, so I didn't get the short here, so shorted it through $80 and then got it to 78. That's the only trade I took. Obviously, in complete hindsight, and we had this for the lesson of the day, the mean reversion off the bottom is probably a trade that should have been had. It's a very sharp trend. It broke trend, hold an obvious higher low, and then broke out that top and trended up. It could have been had, but I didn't. But if you look at the close on the daily, I think this is what you're getting at. There's your on a closing basis, it's going to close above that all-time high double top. right? So oftentimes you'll hear us say stock is at a 52-week high. Generally speaking, in the markets, you care about on a closing basis. So yes, I was short it because it failed an all-time high, but not on the close all-time high. So what it's actually done here is you've got a bit of a rejection underneath that all-time high and that closing basis, which is about 80.60. That's pretty bullish of all things. So what that sets you up for is if it can hold on to this 80.5 level tomorrow and break away from it, that would be a bit of a bullish reversal from this little pullback that we had today on Palantir. So I think that's it's a very astute observation there. So yes, it was a bit of a fail break and a short, but given where it recovered to, and yes, I get it. We hear a million people say how Palantir is overvalued. Fine. Amazon was overvalued. Tesla was overvalued. Every single great growth company has spent a long period of time being overvalued on a PE basis while still running higher. I'm not saying it's a great buy up here, but for a trade, you can still take advantage of the longs when they set up. And seeing it make this bit of a reversion candle on the daily chart, it does set it up that if it can hold on to 80.5 tomorrow, yeah, a little bit of a momentum trade along and would have another leg in it. That's a very nice close after what was a good short this morning.
Yeah, it's Palantir is really interesting. I think the same with Meta. It was like it kind of was poised to open pretty weak. Then it bounces, gets to that 6. Honestly, like it kind of consolidates to that. I think 596s, gets to that 600, and then as of the close, like Neil was right. You was blinking, you missed it. We broke above 600 by a hair. We got to like 601 plus, and then we closed and we flushed again. So I think Meta 600 and Palantir, like both of these near either all-time highs or very key levels, are going to be interesting. And I was reading as well. Both Apple and Palantir did wick all-time highs today. So they're not, Apple we talked about as being dead all day. I apologize to the person in the chat who was like, we don't look at Apple enough, because Apple did at one point, did have that all-time highs, right? So it's like, it's hard to have eyes on everything, because I was shocked by how many things, as we've said, are moving this holiday season. Like, of course we do have the small caps, but also a lot of these larger names continuing to make this move. Lilly is trying to get another crack at 800 today too. That was up like 3+%. So the point we're trying to make, I think, is there's going to be a lot of opportunities, but be cautious with the volume. That would be my kind of take, yeah.
For sure, and I think to the person, and I'm glad you brought that up for Apple, because a lot of people were saying that about Apple, but Apple has the same look off that high. The difference is Palantir had volatility to go with that pullback, where it gave you a pullback trade and then a reversion up the top. Apple did make a move late in the day, so if you got it at the end of the day, for the majority of the day, you had an inside range. You take the entirety of the move in the afternoon on Friday, and it basically just sat inside that while failing the all-time high. However, what looks fantastic on this daily chart is just like Palantir. You have big volatility, but look at the candle. Yes, it was doing nothing off the all-time high close, but it ends up opening and closing above it. That's bullish, and now you can do the next continuation move. You hold 50, forget about even 55. You hold 54 tomorrow, and I think you've got yourself a runner, or a bit later. I know we're going to have Michael Noss in just a couple of minutes here, or if we're not ready, if not, we're ready almost right away for some trader talk. But I want to shout out to Adam DeLuz. Thank you, Adam. He says, thank you, Neil and Adara, for the market recap. Adam, you know what's good. We're here always for you guys. If the market's open, we're here doing our thing. Yes. And we're having some fun doing it. I just realized I didn't show off my because I couldn't really show this off.
Is that Star Wars?
When I was at the desk.
Or is it Pac-Man?
Because it's cold in here, and it's a T-shirt, right?
Is it Star Wars Pac-Man?
So it's Star Wars, Pac-Man, and Christmas all wrapped in one. All things I am a fan of. And so there was the barber shop that my dad would take me when I was growing up. So West Indian barber shop in the GTA here. And they had like one arcade machine in the back of the barbershop. It was a Pac-Man machine.
Okay.
So my dad would take us there every other Saturday, and essentially all the dudes would just sit around talking about cricket and West Indian politics. So when you're a kid, I have no idea what they're talking about most of the time. My brother and I would just play Pac-Man, and we would go, like, even your hair was cut, and we'd be done, and my dad's hair would be cut, and we'd still be there for hours. Because they're just socializing. Yeah. Right? It's just the barbershop. Basically, it's like the movie Barbershop. Like, trust me, that's how it's like. And so I played a lot of Pac-Man on that machine when I was a kid. So I've always loved Pac-Man. And of course, I love some Star Wars. That's
a really cool shirt. Yeah, I'm excited. I have a Christmas sweater as well. Yeah. I bought it this year. This will be its debut. I am very excited about it. So that will be, I guess, displayed tomorrow. And depending on what color of pants I wear, I guess that will determine the market. It's going to be red or green. I'm just gonna tell you guys that right now.
That's
I've been trying to be a little spicier with it lately. I'm like, you know what? For whatever reason, my outfits move the market, so I don't control it.
Wear green, please.
Okay, I'll wear green. Also, thank you again to Adam DeLuce for another £2 super chat. I need that awesome Xmas jumper tagging you. So Adam is a fan of your Christmas suit.
Xmas jumper. I have a sweater for tomorrow. Look, feel free, and I don't mind calling everybody out. I said last week, we're doing ugly Christmas sweaters like we do every single year. If somebody forgets on the team tomorrow, that's on them. Because I'm going to be in mine, and I got something special. I heard Sharif was locked and loaded and ready to go. I'm pretty sure Joe's got something. Sean usually will have something. Brendan's not here, so I don't know. And Obi wore his today because he's not going to be on the show tomorrow because Sean's going to be back. But that's what it's all about. Before we get to Michael here, random oddities, the market closes at 1 tomorrow. It's a half day. Whenever there's a half day in the market, 1 p.m. Eastern time is the close day, is the closing time. So we're on till 1 o'clock. Everything else is normal. I think the futures market stays open a little bit longer. But as I just mentioned, I believe we got the thumbs up. Time for a little Trader Talk with our good friend Michael Noss, the Noss boss himself. Welcome back. Haven't talked to you since this morning, although you got to talk to the desk and we didn't necessarily get a chance to chat. So first things first, hope you had a fantastic weekend. And we got a little bit of snow. I see you probably got some out east there.
Oh, yeah.
But what I love about these holiday shortened weeks or some of these low volatility days, you said it this morning, have a look at some of those small cappers and runners, and the prophecy was dead on. I mean, that's where not that there weren't opportunities elsewhere. There were some good trades to be had elsewhere, but the cream of the crop was looking at the Rumbles of the world. Even GameStop was a pretty easy trend up.
Yeah, and that's just something, there's things that I have statistics on, and then there's things that I have enough gray in my beard to notice. And the only thing I can think of is that a lot of the big institutions, those guys have kind of taken off already for the weekend. And then you've got a lot of people who maybe want to dabble in day trading. They're home because they just took the week off work. So you see a lot of these crazy moves in smaller cap names and just more retail focused names that I think people can take advantage of.
Yeah, and I think for us traders, one of the things we say during a week like this is, okay, well, you don't want to overtrade. And what that really means is, well, just make sure that you're taking opportunities that give you good risk to reward and are worthy of the return and your attention. And that was the reason why we got a few complaints that we weren't covering Apple on the show today, despite the fact it was hanging around an all-time high. Well, there just wasn't much there in terms of a trade on Apple, but they're like the same range you could have had on Apple for the majority of the day on a $250 stock. You got a couple of cracks at that on GameStop, which is a $30 stock. You got multiple cracks on that on Rumble, which is a $12 stock. Like it did that same. So those are the opportunities that you were certainly looking for. The other thing that I wanted to bring up, and maybe you could share your thoughts on here that we looked at, I would have thought there'd be a little bit more volatility in crypto, although we did have another retest of 92,000 on Bitcoin. And that retest, it held. So this is IBIT, like right around here, down around like the 52 half area. That's going to be that 92,000 that's held. This is now like the third time it's held. The initial failure of 100,000 had it bounce off this level in a bit of a flash crash. So now you're finding some support. I'm not completely convinced it's a temporary bottom yet because it's not that big of a drawback, Michael, but how many times does 92 have to hold before all of a sudden it's worth looking at it as saying, hey, maybe if this is a consolidation and we're going to do that sideways thing that we do, maybe it's this level. Like it's now like 3 times it bounced off of it.
Yeah, and that was a lot of my point this morning, too, is that everybody goes, oh, Bitcoin, it makes these crazy moves. But they forget that those crazy moves usually happen over a number of days, and then you have absolutely nothing for years. I think I read a stat somewhere that if you took out the 10 or 20 best days in crypto, or in Bitcoin in particular, it's actually down. Right. So it has this moment of these massive moves higher and then absolutely nothing for long periods of time. So the chart I have up here is just Bitcoin, just showing this range. And we got into this range in November. So, we're knocking on the door of January now and it's been chopped up. So I just implore people that if you're going to be trading crypto, and I did a whole Substack post and a YouTube video about this today as well, is there's moments to really trade and there's moments not to trade. And it's the same point that you made on like Apple today. Sometimes those are going to be in play. Those are going to be the names you go to. Sometimes they're not doing anything and you don't want to do anything. The one thing I did want to kind of mention in the crypto space though is, Bitcoin is down today. It's at support. Ethereum, however, had a pretty wicked day today and is closing kind of right near the high of the day. So Ethereum has been the dog of the crypto space. It hasn't even hit these new all-time highs yet. But today we're getting this kind of rotation. And you can actually chart this if you go just Ethereum versus Bitcoin. And you can see that pop that we're having today. So this is Ethereum priced in Bitcoin. So if this line goes up, it means Ethereum's outperforming Bitcoin. If the line goes down, it means it's underperforming. You can see if you zoom out, most of the time Bitcoin seems to beat Ethereum. But right now we're getting this little pop, and that's kind of interesting to me. I mentioned a little bit this morning that a lot of my crypto friends that I'm chatting with are talking about maybe an altcoin season. This would be the evidence that I would need to see that that's gonna come to pass.
Yeah, that's almost convincing me that I should maybe. I don't really sell Bitcoin, and I think to the extent that I've ever done it, it's just been like the amount that I have in my coin, because I hold pretty much all of it now in the ETFs. So like what I do have in like my Coinbase account, I'll just shift it into another crypto. I'll never actually like really sell it. I don't put it in a stable. But I'm actually considering now, like maybe I might actually look at converting some of that into ETH, at least in the short term. Because, I mean, if it has room to that top, it has room to that top. And just to put something into that realm, you're going to love this. And I hope you do. Because we had a viewer, and this is unrelated to crypto, but I think it's the whole when to trade, when not to trade things. In the chat today, someone was bringing up specifically Enphase. And yes. And I was like, you know what, this one's getting interesting to me too. And I was sort of pointing out the whole, hey, it's got a bottom on it, the 50 period, it's made a distinct bottom on the chart, and then a higher low, and then it's trying to break the 50 period moving average. And then you know what someone said, like right after I was like making the case for it, someone said, why don't you look at FSLR, First Solar?
Yeah.
And then right after that happened, I was like, oh yeah, that's right. FSLR was a better looking chart in a general sense. It's got a better upward trend instead of a downward trend. I should be looking at that because it's a stronger name. And then the reason that even occurred to me was because you always say, it's all well and good to catch a bottom in a specific market or a sector, but the first thing you should do is just put in the work to make sure you're even looking at the right name in the first place. And
yeah, especially something like solar, where the correlations between those names are going to be so high. Right. I think you're absolutely right. If it was something like competing names or drug companies that have different drugs coming out, but you're right. If you look at this First Solar chart, you zoom out a little bit, and then you look at Enphase. Right, it's a different beast. So I think you hit the nail on the head there, especially, and that's the kind of point I wanted to make, in very heavily correlated industries like solar. If solar is in favor, all of these are going to go up. The question is, what's going to go up more?
So here's my question. I can take it back to crypto for a split second, because we just talked about Bitcoin and ETH. Now, this is not the same comparison, obviously, but if Bitcoin's in this consolidated phase, yes, ETH has had a good pullback or a good dip buy, is maybe there, because I haven't done this work, I'll be the first person to admit it, is there maybe something else that could be lying in the wings that if Bitcoin's taking a break, maybe there's something actually better than ETH to be moving into in space? Now, I don't know the answer to that question, but that whole line of reasoning on the solars made me think of this as we were talking about this little Bitcoin sideways action.
Well, and to the point of the solars, I'm going to go through the same exercise, try to find that out. So I have a chart of Solana here. This one's actually been, right, again, if we zoom out on Solana, this thing's been absolutely rocketing compared to ETH that hasn't been moving yet. So that might be a thing. Now, what I generally do is I look at, there are times that and it feels weird to say this, Bitcoin is the safe crypto, right? If the market is going to kind of sell off, most people, when they say crypto, they mean Bitcoin. When something like Ethereum's moving, the reason that's interesting to me is that a lot of these coins that are altcoins are either running on Ethereum or Solana. So they're kind of these secondary markets that things can run off of. And what you generally see when you see Solana and Ethereum start to move is you start to see these altcoins. And I'm getting more familiar with this as well, but you have these different areas of the market. You have Bitcoin, which I kind of look as the digital gold. It's the, going to be the index. If they all go away, I don't think Bitcoin will, kind of thing. Then you have Ethereum and Solana, and they power the altcoins. And altcoins are things like, I have on my screen Mana, that's up 10% today. Full disclosure, I own a little bit of this. The line here is just the year-to-date anchored VWAP. This kind of stuff is a token that has utility. Now, it's digital real estate, so you could argue all day whether or not it's real utility or whether it's, crazy internet money. But this coin does a thing. And then that to me is the altcoin space. And I kind of look at that as more of the mid cap and the small cap space if we're equating this to stocks. And then you have the meme coins. And the meme coins are just absolute junk. The Hawk Tua coin and Bart coin, which is up 25% right now, and all these things. These are just speculative betting vehicles. It's all they are. That's kind of like your micro cap stock. One of these things may kind of pop out of a micro cap and end up being a thing in the future, but that's your really speculative area. So we saw those meme coins do very, very well for a long time, and we saw Bitcoin do very well for a long time. But this altcoin space, this kind of middle ground of these coins have some use, but they're still not, nearly as safe as something like Bitcoin. They haven't had their time in the sun yet. So that's kind of the area that I'm going to be looking at, I think, over the holiday, over the Christmas break, and over the coming weeks.
Yeah, great look there, and appreciate what I love about it is we have guests on this show trying to give it in perspective. Not only do you bring a technical perspective on a different time frame, so swing trading, then you're looking at crypto, which is like three things that we can add to our viewers. So I do appreciate that. Dara actually had a question as well, so I wanted to, before we get you out of here, I wanted to shift you over to Dara because she had a question.
Hi, Michael. Thanks for being here with us. I know this morning you correctly called there'd be a lot of retail attention today, and of course we had that nice move in GME, and names like Rumble, well, it had its own catalyst. That was really strong as well. So are there any other retail names that you're watching, anything with larger short floats or smaller market caps that you think could potentially get some attention as we have these holiday shortened weeks continuing over the next couple weeks?
I'm getting very interested in China again. I don't know if there's, small caps that I'd play too much in China, but I have the chart of the FXI up here now. And this space is getting very interesting because we had that initial move. Again, the purple line, I've just been adding it to my charts. I really like it recently, is the year-to-date anchored VWAP. So it means the average market participant in China is doing very, very well. And this thing has been holding this prior level, and we took another dip down there, and we held that level again when we started to pop off. So some names that I know that a lot of the retail community likes to play, names like Baba, you can see sitting right on its year-to-date anchored VWAP, JD.com. The reason I think around Christmas might be the time for some of these names to go is for the same reason that I was kind of saying, well, everyone's at home, maybe they'll kind of play some of these more speculative names, is because right, America and Canada and a lot of these countries are going to be off over Christmas. China isn't, right? China's going to be kind of a continuous market. So I think even though you may have a news lull in the Western, right, you may not have that news lull when it comes to China and Japan and some of these. So, I'm interested in the yen. I'm interested in some of these Chinese names as well. I treat all these stocks, the stocks from China, like small caps because they have that same kind of volatility and gap risk. Baba could gap up 10%, it wouldn't shock me. It could gap down 10%, it wouldn't shock me. So I would pay attention to these names. They're in an interesting technical spot. And again, with kind of the offsetting of the holidays, they might still be putting out news when the rest of the world's a little bit more quiet.
That's a fantastic observation. And I would just point out, that anchored VWAP on the daily chart for Alibaba also lines up with the 200-period moving average. So it even gives you some confidence on the trade. And then the other point about Chinese names making their move when the rest of the world is on vacation. We've all seen what happens when a Chinese stock, and there's the EDUs, the TALs, like, some of those stocks, when they start going, it's just program buying. And BABA can do it too. JD can do it too. When you get like the program, and I'm not saying it's some crazy algorithm, the government over there buying stocks, but who cares what it is? When they go, they really, really start to go. I've always had to thank you so much for coming on here, even on it's a holiday shortened week, but certainly we like to give the viewers the best, and that includes bringing you on here. Michael, obviously wish you a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. Can't wait to talk to you, but make sure you enjoy time with the family, and hopefully we get a white Christmas.
Yes, you too. And since I won't talk to you or any of the castmates there or the viewers, Merry Christmas. I love coming on. I can't wait to be back.
Thank you so much, Michael. And there we have it, one of our favorite guests. Oh, I hit the button. I don't know if I was supposed to hit the button. I like hitting the button.
Yeah.
You can't give me a button to hit and then expect me not to hit it.
I feel that.
But no, Michael, absolute treasure to have on. And I do love that fact, like getting crypto, looking at not just technicals, but on a higher time frame so you can get some swing trading ideas is certainly important, because we focus a lot on day trading. But we also focus on the viewers.
Yes.
Why? Because you guys make the show. And, we have a couple days until we get Christmas here, and it's don't sleep on tomorrow. If you remember, and just to remind everybody, if you watched our show on Black Friday, right? Like that was the day there were renovations happening in the office, so we all had to do the show from home. I can tell you right now there was FOMO going on because we weren't able to trade that day. And the early trend long was like, that's all you need. It was like a regular day, all packed into the first 35 minutes, and you got exactly what you wanted, and it was perfect. That's the kind of thing, like if it happens, if it doesn't happen, fine. But do not sleep on the half-day moves, especially if you get a nice early breakout or a nice little trade off the open off of support level. You get some really good runners. So make sure we'll be there for you for tomorrow for that, because there will be volatility, there will be opportunity as well. Before we get to that, we got to get into our roll call.
Yes.
Second last one before Christmas, and before Adara drops it, remember, if you want your name read in this chat by Adara, you need to be in the chat in the first place. Funny how that works. And in order to be in the chat, you have to be a subscriber. So hit the subscribe right now, then hit the like, then type in the chat some mode of thanks. First, I want you all to thank Michael Noss for joining us this morning, and then again here in the Aftermarket Show, the market recap. Then I wanted you guys to give a big shout out and thanks to Fabian, Ramin, and Andre, our production team, making sure our socials are on point, making sure we look and sound good every single day. Then I want you guys to thank the Bash brothers. We had Sharif and Joe. The simple fact that Sharif made it through the midday show today is a testament to his toughness.
Yeah, for real.
I'll tell you this right now, you have no idea. The man is a freaking legend. I was like, you're going to make it through this show? And you could barely even tell. What an absolute champ he is. Give a big shout out and thanks to Brennan and Sean. Brennan won't be back till the new year, but Sean's back on tomorrow. Brennan's off. Believe it or not, the guy never takes any time off. He's off till the new year. Big shout out to Obi, as always, filling in, doing a great job. Hopefully we'll see you tomorrow, but he's got the Christmas sweater on today. And of course, thank you to Adara, always killing it in great trading today as well on Meta. But you can never forget to thank Bears versus Bulls. We appreciate you so much, and we don't say it enough. I feel like saying it once or twice a day is never enough. Thank you so much, Bears versus Bulls. Let's get some roll call.
Yeah, thank you, Bears versus Bulls. Thank you, Neil, Sean, who will be back tomorrow, Brendan. We have, of course, our whole production team, Fabian, Ramin, Andre. Shout out to Obi, who was just swagging out in the corner of our screens there. And shout out to our awesome community, the Piper. We have Aboriginal Alien, Lansdale Haynes, Mopar for Life, Slug at 214, We, Cansado, Will Dixon, Elon, Reload to Reload, Charlie Taft. I'm like a little bit behind here. Easy peasy. We Cansado again. We have Runs with Bulls, Joe Knott, Paul, Forex, AU, NYC Urbanista, Havana Woody. We have Ivy, Your Huckleberry, Richard Cabeza, Be Free, Don Pietro, Bright Awakening, Compelled Cat, I love that name there, Bebot 5000, T-Man, a lot of people wishing happy holidays. The best thing, though, is we'll be back tomorrow for that holiday day. We already talked a little bit about what we're looking for. There's so many tickers that are poised to do cool things tomorrow. And I'm excited to see it.
Absolutely. And we're going to keep it holiday themed tomorrow. Trust me, we'll have a lot of fun. And when the market slows down, we're still going to have tons of fun. So make sure you tune in for the last show before Christmas. We'll be bright and early at 8:30. We're Trader TV Live. We'll see you tomorrow. Wear those Christmas sweaters, everybody.